Good night, Barbados. How are we doing tonight? I mean, it is an amazing, amazing night. We are excited to be alive. How about you? Oh my goodness, I had such a wonderful, wonderful day, and I am excited. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Week Show. We are coming to you live from Barbados. Uh-huh. And I tell you where it is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Barbados. That's what's happening tonight, guys. We are live and we need you to let somebody know we're on. So you're going to like, and you're going to share. We need you to do that to make sure the algorithm is kicking in our favor. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I see people are on tonight, and I'm excited about that. And it is a wonderful, wonderful day. I got some good sea bath, as we would say, today, and really, really enjoyed the day. I went in my garden, and I mean, beautiful day. Saw some people from Connecticut. Some of our viewers from Connecticut. I met up with them today, and it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience. And tonight we have another great show lined up for you. All right. First off, at 7:10, Lucinda, good night. We're going to have Rose Corbin. Rose Corbin is going to be on. And when she's on, it's a lot of education, very deep and very funny too. Very insightful, and she's done a full presentation, and she's going to be giving that presentation tonight. And then CASWELL Franklin is on, and he's going to be talking about workers' issues. Now, we know what has happened at Sandals today. Did you hear about the hundreds of people who were laid off at Sandals today? I heard that big men were crying. Big men were crying. People were cursing. They were so angry, and they've lost their jobs. And this is real people. They've lost their jobs, and we have people among us that it's very, very difficult for them. And I'm being told that they're going to be paid severance. Yeah, I've been told that they're going to be paid severance, and that they are, and that some are there. I think they're trying to take back some of those people, but it's a really, really, really a sad time. I tell you, for Barbados, very sad time for Barbados. But let me just go ahead and welcome Lucinda Allen, Bajan boy. Benjamin Boy, after CASWELL Franklin, then we're going to have the former Minister of Culture, Stephen LASHLEY, is going to be with us, and he's going to do a review of Cropover as we advertise, and also of the Ministry of Culture over the 6 years that he was no longer the Minister of Culture. We're going to look at some of what he's done, and look at some of the good things that have happened over the last 6 years, and to see some of the things, some of the improvements that need to be made. Bajan boys, a good evening. Junie Rock, how you doing? Vernon Garnes, how you doing? FX Trading, BB, how you doing? Loyal Daughter 66, how are you? Oh my goodness. She says, good night. We are not afraid to fall in line. And let's keep on keeping on. The winds of change are howling through the land. Correct. It's me. Good evening. It's me. And yes, we are. See, I'm in my goal tonight. We are so proud of our Sade, Queen Sade. We are so proud of her, and she made it to the finals, and that is awesome, and with the best in the world. And she's from a small country, tiny little dot, and she's fighting her way. No stadium, no support, no whatever. I believe she gets some support since, I would say, the last couple of years, but she has to be training in somebody else's country. It would be good if she could train at home. Judy Jilks, how are you? Queen B, how are you doing? Bim the Beautiful, how are you? How are you? Owen Hines, how are you? And I can't call everybody. Trevor Seeley, Cynthia Thorpe, Mystic Angel, we're going to go right into the national anthem this evening. We're going to go right in it because we have a packed show for you this evening. Very packed show for you. So we're going to go right in there this evening. Yes. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. So we're going to go right into our national anthem. And tonight we play that anthem for our Sade, huh? For our Sade who represented Barbados so well on the world stage. And we lift this flag on her behalf and we say, go Sade, go. Go Sade, go. Yes, we lift this flag tonight on behalf of our queen. She is our queen. Tough circumstances, but that young lady is determined to do what needs to be done and to accomplish what needs to be accomplished on behalf of her beautiful country, Barbados. And so we want to just truthfully celebrate her, celebrate Sade tonight. Yes. Yes. Now, guys, let me just as Rose is getting ready, getting herself ready, and we're in. I know we're in for a treat tonight, and so let me just continue welcoming those who have logged on. Wonderful people. You know, we are so excited. Every night that we come on, and I use the word excited all the time. And somebody might tonight I was saying somebody might say, "Oh, you know, she doesn't have anything else to say," because I really feel excited. I was sitting here from about 5:30, researching and planning and all of that, and all dressed up. You know, and so it's all good because you know we're doing something positive for the country. What we are doing is positive. On the Marcia Week show, we educate, we motivate, we mobilize, we agitate Africa and the African diaspora. That's what we do on the show. And we broadcast from Barbados. And yes, we take on more local issues here in Barbados. But we also, as you can see, we are also bridging that gap between Africa and the rest of the Caribbean. Okay. And so Marcia, we're happy that your answer, Alfred Benjamin, is watching from Brooklyn, and Ryan Rock. Good evening, Ryan Rock. How are you? How are you? How are you? Beverly Prescott, good evening. Romeo Hinkson, good evening. Jefferson Sobers, good evening. Juliet Gittens, good evening. Jacqueline Allen, good evening. Callie B from the UK, good evening. Are you guys sharing? Oh my goodness. Please share, share, share. We have a fantastic show. And I think I see that Mrs. Corbin is all ready. Can you give me a thumbs up? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready, Mrs. Corbin, if you're hearing me. Yes, okay, she is ready. Good evening, Mrs. Corbin. Oh no, she's not. It wasn't a thumbs up. She was telling, give me a moment. Let's see, let's see. I don't know. Are you ready, Mrs. Corbin? All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Well, I know she has a very, very powerful presentation that's lined up for us tonight. Good evening, Mrs. Corbin. How are you?
Good evening, I'm well, thank you. And you?
Okay. Great, great, great,
Could you
great.
hold the slice a bit for me, please?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, I am well, thank you. And you?
I am doing great. I was telling everybody that I was so excited about coming on tonight. Every night I'm excited about coming on. Even when I'm tired, I'm still excited about coming on. And it's great to see everybody tonight. And I know you have a lot to offer us, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. So I want you to jump right in.
Yes, please. Um, this was prepared. First, let me greet our audience, as I usually do. Good evening, everyone. Loyal sons and daughters, all firm craftsmen of her faith. I thank you for this opportunity to join you again to share. This evening session has come out of thoughts and reflections on the just completed Kodumant and the various events associated with Kodumant. I will not attempt to review, assess um, on the events, but rather contextualize it within this poem written by our own, the late Camille Braffett, um, one of Barbados' Caribbean, the Caribbean, and the world poets. And this is a poem that I would use often with my students in the CSC English class. Actually, I would give it to them quite early and tell them, if you understand this poem, if you can relate to this poem, not only in its literary form, uh, with the figures of speech, or not only in terms of answering the questions, but if you could see the context, the social issues raised in this poem, the psycho emotional aspects of the poem underpinning the poem, you're going to pass CSC at grade one, grade two. And we will spend about 2 sessions until the light bulb goes off, Marcy, until I hear, Eureka, I've got it. And then we go sailing. I must tell you, I saw even one of my students this evening, and she got a grade one. And these are adult students, students who failed the English language at CSC at school, never sat CSC, but relating to this poem set the tone for the standard expected in those classes. So please permit me, it should take me about 2 minutes to read the poem. So, audience, listeners, um, this poem should resonate. Tizzy is a poem about a reveler in Trinidad and at Carnival. So, Tizzy by Kamal Braffett. For he was a slave to drums, to flutes, brave, brass and rhythm. The jump up saved him from the thought of holes that ran through the roof of his have nothing cottage. Kele Kalinda stamp, the limbo. Calypso season camp. These he loved best of all. The road march tramp down Princess Street, round Maraval, Kitch, Sparrow, Douglas. These were the stars of his melodic heaven. Their little winking sounds carried him back to the days of green, unhurried growing. The carnival's apotheosis blazed for 2 nights without fear or sorrow. Calabar or anyone to question or restrain his heightened, borrowed glory. He walked so far on stilts of song, of masqueraded story. Stars were near. Doors of St. Peter's heavens were ajar. Mary, Christ's Christmas mother, was there too, her sweet inclined compassion in full view. In such bright swinging company, he could no longer feel the cramp of poverty's confinement. Spirits damp, he could have all he wished he ever wanted, but the good still splintered. Wood legs broke. Calypso steel pan rhythm faltered. The midnight church bell fell across the glow. The lurching cardboard crosses. Behind the mask, grave lantern sorrows waited. Ash Wednesday, ashes, darkness, death. After the Bambalula Bambule, he was a slave again. And this contextualizes the theme tonight. Realities still remain. I preface this by saying I enjoy Kadooment. Never jumped in the bandwagon. I have gone to Kadooment at the stadium when it was real Kadooment with the bands parading. I have gone to the pick of the crop. I have never gone on the street to watch the bands. I would watch them from the stadium, have taken visitors and children. When Kaduma was a family affair, I've gone to tents. I enjoy the cultural festivities associated with Kaduma. So I'm not a prude. I love Kaduma. But could we go back to the previous slide and let us look at the statement? Here's the fun, the stilts. Next slide, please. Bam, balula, bambule. but the good still splintered, wood legs broke, calypso steel pan rhythm faltered. Follow me, audience. Next slide. Bambaloo la bambule. Then what? Then what? The cramp of poverty's confinement behind the mask, grave, lengthened sorrows. You see the transition from the jubilante of the carnival, but back to reality, the cramp of poverty's confinement behind the mask, grave, lengthened sorrows. Ash Wednesday, ashes, darkness, death. After the Bambalula, Bambule, he was a slave again. Next slide, please. Thank you. So for us, Bambalula, Bambule, then what? Will the party, and party here connotes the party, the revelry, the fun, as well as the party. You know what I'm talking about, the party. And could you enlarge the slide for me, please? I'm reading from the screen. Will the party continue on splintered stilts? Re unkept and broken promises made into 2018 and 2022 manifestos. Will the party continue given matters related to QEH and the Ministry of Education? Will it continue given Barbados Revenue Authority pensions and NIS and multiple taxes on already overburdened incomes? Will the party continue given the condition of the public sector and state-owned enterprises? Re-understaffing, and our CASWELL has spoken so many times to these issues. Favoritism, supersession, inadequate and lack of resources to do the work, and highly paid consultants displacing public servants who can do the work. Will the party continue with the matters related to inadequate, poor, unreliable transportation, garbage collection, and crime and violence? Next slide, please. Will the party, next slide, Marcia or Dave, thank you. Will the party continued on splintered stilts? Read the many government ministers headed by government ministries headed by ministers, with several ministers of state, with ministers from the Senate, as well as consultants, all with highly paid salaries and allowances and due to get early pension, while the average Barbadian is struggling and suffering. Will the party continue on splinter stilts with bad road conditions, water issues, pile up of unclaimed bodies in the morgue? Will the party continued with matters related to the cybercrime bill, which we hear they're going to bring back quite soon? Disregard for the Auditor General and the Public Accounts Committee led by the leader of the opposition, Honorable Mr. Ralph Thorne. Will the party continue on splinter stilts? Read the putting down and disregard for persons who do not agree with their policies and practices that are not in the best interest of the Barbadian public. Next slide, please. Bambulula, bambule, then what? Will the party continue on splinter stilts? Read the haste with which they want to sneak in, introduce and pass bills in Parliament and the Senate. Will the party continue on splinter stilts? with regard to the high and ever increasing cost of living? Will the party continue on splinter stilts, re national debt? And what is the truth on this? Will the party continue on splinter stilts, read borrowing, 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 and begging, begging, begging? Will it continue with favors and padding of pockets for kin and kiss? Will it continue in this manner on splinter stilts? And here's the last slide. Will the party continue on splinter stilts? Next slide. I keep asking that question. And bambalula bambule, then what? And the list goes on as the party continues on splintered stilts. And after the Kodumant, after Cropover, after all the analysis, after all the discussion, the realities remain. We are back to the confinement of property, looking through our lean-to cottages with holes in the roof and the rain coming through to dampen us. The stilts have splintered. The figurative and literal Ash Wednesday has come. The Lenten season has come, a season of reflection, a season of sacrifice, deprivation. People deprive themselves. The reality sink in. My people out there, Bambalula, and I'm saying it not with tongue in cheek, but I'm saying it with passion. Then what? As the party continues on splinter stilts. And I had wanted, but forgot to send it, Marcia, to show you how the party continues. That clip with the PM at the party with Lil Rick doing what we call, what in Barbados parlance is the dog. The party continues. The party continues on splintered stilts. Bambalula, bambule. Then what? Reality still remains. Thank you, Marcia, and thank you, audience, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Wow, very deep and sobering poem. And we do have 5 minutes just to for people to ask any questions and the comments. People are saying that the poem continues to be relevant, and I say sobering. I say sobering because when you look, Rose, and you've seen what has occurred today with sandals. I don't know if you're aware, but I had someone, a friend of mine, and she called me and she said, Marcia, pray for us. My son was just laid off. I could hear it in the I just the message came through. It was a written message, and then when I spoke to her, I heard it in her voice, and she said, Marcia, not just for him, but for all the big men that were bawling at work today, and those who were cursing, not because they love cursing, because but that's the way they express themselves. And when I saw this tonight, the party continues on splintered stilts. That's what I thought about. What are your thoughts about those sandals workers, and how does it relate to your presentation tonight, Rose?
Unfortunately, Marcia, we were on the road and we just got in before time to present, so I am unaware of those issues. But if there are issues or what happened, but if there are issues that relate to the above um, things that I would have pointed out, surely the party is continuing on splinter stilts and not recognizing the needs, the cries of the people. Um, yes, um, we're hearing the success of Cropover, and we're hearing that thousands party infected for different reasons. Some may
Mm,
have borrowed or begged to do that. Some just want to get rid of the realities like Tizzy in the
mm-hmm,
poem. But you have recognized from what has happened, and I can't speak to that, that the stilts have splintered not many
mm-hmm.
days after Cropover, which the minister responsible for culture in the prime minister's office um, did not speak to. When she was interviewed on CBC, she did not even come up for breath like the swimmer, the male swimmer at the Olympics representing Great Britain that qualified. She didn't even know she went past the right mark and then surface. She didn't even surface. She didn't give person a chance to ask a question. It
Mm,
was reading from the script. So, Marcia, whatever has occurred today, the
yeah.
reality is that the states have splintered. And the first slide I had too, that after the bamboo lula bambule, what about the disrespect shown to to the governor general, not the governor general, the president, Dame Sandra Mason? Will they continue on splinter stilts, disrespecting her, disrespecting persons in key positions in this island? Will they, and who will issue a public apology for a public display of disrespect? From whom will it come? Will it come from a messenger um, such as the CEO of NCF, and we know that incoming? Will it be coming from the chairman of NCF? Will it be coming from the same Chantel Monroe Knight, the Senator Dr. Knight, Monroe Knight? Or
Mm,
should it come from the Prime Minister herself, who is the head of government, and who and under whose ministry and office falls the Ministry of Culture? That was my first um and the after the calypso steel rhythm falters and the good still splinters and the wood legs are broke, who will take responsibility public for that disregard and disrespect? So, Marcia, we will be looking ahead for
yes.
more splintered legs, splintered, broken stilts as the party continues, as they continue um, doing what they're doing in terms of policies, practices, and performance.
Yeah.
Alliteration there. Policies, practices, and
Practices and
performance.
performance.
And
You
could
know,
we say what? Poor, put poor in front of that.
Four in a row. But this is very thought provoking. Very thought provoking. As I thought about the workers at Sandals, Mrs. Corbin,
Yes, please.
I thought about the fact that we were told only just recently how great tourism is doing. And so I don't know what your thoughts are about that. You would have read in the newspaper how fantastic the economy is doing and how great tourism is doing. It was said on the radio that there was a hotel. They didn't call the name of the hotel, but I have the letter here that I've also sent to Mr. Franklin. I believe I sent it to him. Of the hotel that laid off the people, and it's Sandals. And this particular person, employee at Sandals, is saying they're saying 200, but it's about 500 of us that is laid off today. So you're looking at 500 families represented there. How do you compare what has happened to what we see in the newspaper? That the tourism industry is doing well and the economy is doing well.
And we did well for World Cup. You remember Noelene said that we were going to make so many millions from World Cup. That if you reflect on the issues raised, that the realities remain. I talk about the national debt, the truth. What is the economy like? The truth, as well as letting us know about the monies you're getting, the national debt, and where it is going.
Mm-hmm.
Something is not matching up. And that is a reality, and nobody tells us. In the lower house and in the upper house, we have all of them telling the emperor in her new coat that all is well, it looks good, we're doing well. And they are dressing Barbados too in a new coat that is sewn with invisible thread. Not only are they wearing it, but Barbados is being cloaked in it. And I empathize. I have to go and catch up with the news. I empathize with those affected in the sector, those homes that will be affected.
Yes.
Um, Even when they get their packages, we know that it will go quickly. They still have their mortgages, they have rent.
Yes.
And it's coming at a time when children are going back to school. And it is multiple, and many of them would have several children to send back
Mm-hmm.
to school. These are the realities. And my heart goes out to them, to those households, and not Marcia, not only the households represented singly, but many of these households too
Mm-hmm.
have dependents, say mothers
Correct.
and relatives and even friends to
Mm-hmm.
whom they are benevolent, to whom they help out and have responsibility for. Many of them probably see here that the economy is doing so good that they might have put themselves in further debt,
Yes. Yes.
probably got a car, etc. So my
Right.
empathy and my concern and my prayers all go out to those affected. And as the party goes on, I am not being pessimistic. I love my country, Barbados. I love Barbados. I love my people. I love my people. But as the party goes on splinter stilts, we can expect more of this if they do not respond with transparency, with 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 correctness, to address the many outstanding issues, and don't uh, put us on heightened stilts and give us a high
Mm-hmm.
when the reality is, poverty's confinement.
Yes. Well, as I said, very, very sobering, very timely. And I think, as you're saying, people are experiencing that at the moment. Thank you so much, Mrs. Corbin,
Thank you.
for this wonderful, thought-provoking presentation. Let me take the opportunity to welcome Caswell Franklin, who is the Unity Workers Union leader, and he has been a trade unionist for many, many years. And I know him hearing something like this that has occurred today would be, something that would be very strong in his mind. I know that the leader of the union there, and she went on the radio and reported it, but I don't know what else is being done for those people, for those who were laid off, those wonderful Barbadians. So, Mr. Franklin, welcome, welcome, and we're saddened to be discussing such a sad news tonight. But from Rose's presentation, that's so sobering. I think it's quite fitting. But good evening, sir.
Good evening, Marcia, Rose, and good evening to
Hi. Good evening,
everyone
Caswell.
who is watching. I haven't checked to see how many are on now, but I hope we have a lot more people because what is happening in this country um, is horrendous. And you'll find that the hotel industry, I usually call it the new plantation.
Hmm.
It's not only sandals that treat people badly, there are very few hotel groups or very few hotels that treat people with respect. And the BHDA knows, and they cover for them. The Minister of Labor knows, and he says nothing and does nothing because they want the money that the tourists will bring in. So we
Mm-hmm.
have prostituted our people for the sake of the dollar and have left our people demoralized. I can assure you, sandals should not be here under the terms and conditions that they were given
Mr.
under the.
Franklin, just a moment. Someone is saying, Pete was saying that your volume is very low. I can hear you. So let me just check with the others. Are we hearing Mr. Franklin well? Can you just let us know that, please? It's me, Diana Seeley, Monica Payne. Let us know about the volume. Go ahead, please, Mr.
I'll
Franklin.
shout. This I made a shout about. And I'm saying sandals should not be here. Operating under the conditions that they got from government because we were hand to mouth and we take anything.
Hmm.
Sandals has been given historic, I can say, conditions that work in Barbados. They don't do anything for the economy of Barbados, at least not much, in relation to the benefits that they have gotten. And then you see, I was one totally against it because you see that paradise, when Butch did not get his way paradise is the way it is now because he wanted a private beach. No, he gets them in Jamaica and he wants them in Barbados. And when he gonna get one, that was the result. And we still turn around. God knows what he paid in cash or kind or whatever, but sandals ended up in Barbados with conditions that were most other hotels complain about. They got historic and concessions to bring sandals here. And sandals has continued from then till now to I can answer Sandra Howell. Um, from then till now to treat workers like slaves. You know, I've been to sandals on several occasions to represent workers. And the workers are treated so badly. You know, you are a worker, you got your phone in your pocket. If you have your phone in your pocket, you're not using it. But if it's in your pocket, you can be dismissed. You want to know why? Because sandals is so unhygienic that some workers at the hotel took pictures and posted them about rats and all kind of stuff and dirty conditions. and they ban anybody from having a cell phone inside the hotel. You got to keep it in your locker when you step in. If you forget it, you are charged with an offense. Right? That is how bad it has become. You know, I don't want to. If I could spend the whole day talking about the bad behaviors at Sandals. Sandals is one of the worst employers, second only to Sandy Lane. And but we need the money. So we need the money, and we will prostitute agents to get the money. During COVID, Sandy Lane cut people's salary by 48%. Take it or leave it. Mind you, they got the big fellas going, and the fellas that coming from England and all over the place, and kept them on, not lay off, on and off, because and these people get tremendous salaries. They pay people at the bottom pittance. And when you reach a stage in your life at Sandy Lane, and you work at Sandy Lane for all your years, and then your backside start to sag, and your tits start to fall, out goes you. Because you got to have a certain thing, and they find ways to fire you. They set you up. I sat down one day, and a manager from one of the meetings, and one of the meetings came to me and told me, Mr. Franklin, I don't like this. They're going to fire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They call these people by names. And I went to represent all of them simply because the man was telling the truth. They planned to send them home. They sit down at staff meetings and plan which ones. Sandy Lane, over in a 10-year period, it had 6 HR people, because the people will not work. Some of them will not work for them. They bring unless they move this last one here, I know she's an American. We want an American person to come to Barbados to do HR. The one before her came from Egypt. Because you want people to treat Bajans badly. And when you don't treat Bajans badly, we have people in Barbados who are working there, and when they try to tell Sandy Lane, you can't behave this way, they fire the HR. And people think about how great the hotel is. I would not want my dog, mind you, the bottom put snow at Sandy Lane anyhow, to work at Sandy Lane. Mind you, she's biting them because she's not causing that kind of bad treatment. It is not. This thing from Sandals is only the tip of the iceberg. And I'll tell you, I read the letter before because some person sent it to me, and they wanted me to assist them with it, and I went through it with them. The letter is very technical. It is to the point where they make sure that it would be unfair dismissal, that they can treat people the way they like and get away with it. That is why you see them talk about this consultation and all kind of nonsense. All right. I would have sent Dave the Employment Rights Act, Section 31. I had it somewhere here. I was provide that dismissal will be fair if you take certain steps. And one of them is for redundancy. If you go right up to Section 31. You gotta go scroll right up. It is one of those interactive things. You gotta keep going.
Yes. While Dave is looking for that, I just want to ask everybody to share. This is so important. This is you. If you remember, Mr. Franklin has been singing this song about the hotels, and he has been talking about the hotels and talking about the kind of treatment that the workers are get. He has been, many times you've spoken about this, and he's going to get ready, because there are lots of people that I believe that they plan to fire some more. They're planning to lay off more people. I think you need to get a pen and a paper and get ready, guys, because he's going to lay down some things here. We're going to get educated once again, and it's a free. So get a pen and paper, or use your phone and take some notes. I think Dave might be ready for us now. Oops, he dropped out. Oh my. Continue, Mr. Franklin. Something seemed to have gone wrong.
Okay,
Oh no.
we'll talk about that. All right, good.
Mm-hmm.
Section 31 says a dismissal of an employee does not contravene the right conferred on him by Section 27, where A, the reason for the dismissal is that he was redundant, right? And the requirements of Section 4, 5, and subsection 4, 5, and 6 were complied with in relation to his dismissal for redundancy. Section 27 just simply says that an employee has the right not to be unfairly dismissed. That's all it says.
Mm-hmm.
An employee has the right not to be unfairly dismissed by his employer. So what this letter has done is to meet the requirement set out in the Employment Rights Act to make the dismissal fair.
Mm.
Right? Now what can happen here, Sanders can say, well, we have the downturn, so we ain't gonna pay because we contribute to the National Insurance Severance Fund. So you will have to go to the National Insurance for your money. And because we are so poor now, we ain't getting the money. See, they build up a case for themselves to make sure that they say, well, things brown. So they will not be able to pay the redundancy. And as a result, it will go to national insurance. That is very, very legal, and sometimes, in a lot of cases, real. It's real because some of the employers don't have the kind of money. I'll tie that in with the question that I said I was going to come back to just now. When they were thinking about these people from Colony Club who did not get their severance all like now. Well, Colony Club has made some people redundant. I'm familiar with it because I was consulted by two of the people who they made redundant.
So,
Before they were
Mr.
going to be made,
Franklin, has that happened already? Have they
yeah,
made?
it happened. It happened already, and a
Okay.
year has passed, or almost a year now, and they haven't gotten anything. The reason for that is they're consulted with me, and I said to them, "You're getting bad advice." They were getting bad advice from the people represented before,
Mm-hmm.
because the hotel said we wanted you as a room attendant to mop. There were some room attendants that mop and some that didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The hotel said we need people all of our room attendants must be able to mop because we cannot afford to let you clean the room and that kind of stuff, and then we're going to get somebody to mop.
Mm-hmm.
They insisted, based on advice from their union, not to mop. The people said, well, look, we will make those jobs that don't mop redundant. But at first, they told them we will pay you out for that part of your contract, but we want you to mop. They offered them $400, and then they said no, they said $1,000, and they said no,
Mm-hmm.
based on the urgings of their union. So the hotel made the job redundant. And the redundancy package came to over $500,000. Well, you can pay that with money out of your cash flow, or you can let national insurance pay and pay back national insurance over a period of time. I think that is what
Sandals.
Coral Reef Club has
Mm-hmm.
proposed. They decide that they're going to do, which is
Right.
perfectly
Coral
good.
Reef.
The problem there is that Coral Reef Club has taken the legal route. They said to the workers, okay, we are not going to resist the claim. We agree that you're entitled to your severance pay. The problem with that is that when you go to national insurance, the only body that can determine if you get a severance pay is a severance payments tribunal. So even though you might have all the evidence in your favor and you are entitled to your severance, it must be heard by a tribunal, and the tribunal, because nobody in national insurance that works at national insurance can tell you that no, you are not entitled to severance, or yes, you're entitled to severance. They can say, for their application, we sent the tribunal. But we've had a lot of instances where the employees at national insurance get carried away and tell people no, and then may show. I end up being in some cases that the people are told no. What happens, however, is that the tribunals had not been working for a long time. Why? Because the Prime Minister either failed or didn't remember to reappoint tribunals. So for more than a year, the tribunals had not been working.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a
Mr.
backlog.
Franklin, excuse me a minute. Just I know you said you were shouting. Can you keep say a little louder? People say they want to hear you. They want to hear you. So yes.
Yeah, okay. So there's a backlog.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with those workers, they should listen. When they called me, I said to them, look, I am going to be very upfront with you. The lady who is HR at your hotel is your friend of mine. Notwithstanding that, I am not telling you sort of make her job easy.
Mm-hmm.
Go and do the work. And because at their age, they're not going to find another job in any hurry. Anyhow, they did get one, paying less and mopping at another hotel property. They went and mopped someplace else for a lot less money because they were given bad advice. Mind you, they're still entitled to their severance pay from thing, but not that now is all in National Insurance Court. They claim that the Labor Department had not done anything for them. The Labor Department does not deal with severance pay. So when you see the article in the newspaper condemning the Labor Department, that is nonsense. You see, the Labor Department that deals with a lot of other things, but they don't deal with severance pay. And this was a purely severance pay matter. And it was severance pay that could have been avoided if they had proper advice from their trade union. But then, of course, nobody wanted to listen to me. And especially when I declared my hand and said, well, look, the lady who was the HR is a friend of mine. They didn't want to believe me. But I told them up front, I ain't waiting for nobody to come and tell them, don't listen to CASWELL. He's the woman, his friends. I told them what the law was and what they required. But they listened to advice that caused them to be out of work today. And so they're gonna have to wait until the tribunal, because right now there's a case going on at the tribunal. That hotel there's no Radisson, what was called before. The people got redundant from there over it's about 13, 14 years now, and never get the money yet. And nobody, I know a tribunal like they're willing to listen to it.
Yes. There's a question here on the.
No. The answer to that is no.
Well, apparently, I'm getting a
When
message here
the
that this is what they're planning to do at Sandals. I
They
don't know
can't
if
do
it's
that.
true.
Your severance is a statutory thing. You are entitled to 2.5 weeks pay for each year up to the first 10 years. 2.5 weeks up to the national insurance maximum. If you go over 10 years, the second 10 years, you get 3 weeks pay for each completed year of service. And then over 20 years, you get 3.5 weeks for the next 13. You only get severance pay for 33 years working. You can work for 100 years. You can only
Right.
get severance pay for 30. I mean, nobody can work for 100 years, but I just get ridiculous. But the most severance pay you will get will be based on 33 years service. And it has nothing to do with sick days, sick leave, or times late, or calling. It is what you were paid. It is what they do. Your salary for the last 104 weeks is totaled, divided by 140, give you the average, and that is the amount that they will pay you on. Mind you, if you were on sick leave or lay off during that 104 weeks, which is 2 years, from any period, any Monday to Saturday, that period, you don't put zero. You put the average of the last 4 weeks in there. So if you had 4 weeks, if you were going sick leave Monday to Saturday, you get what they call a credit from National Insurance.
Right.
And that amount, then you look for the 4 weeks prior to you going home on sick leave. You make that total and divide it by 4, whatever they get the weekly average, and then you put that amount in there. So you don't put zeros. I have seen many people who put zeros inside there. If you are on short time, the short time does not count either. You put in you put in the average salary, because people do it to bring down the average so they will pay you less. But
Ah.
but that is not how it works. Mind you, I said any week, Monday to Saturday. So if you're off for a week, Monday to Saturday, that is your credit, and they put the average in there. Now, if you are off from Wednesday to Tuesday the following week, there's some quirk in national, so I don't understand why. It is not a credit. It has to be Monday to Saturday in order to benefit. So Monday to Saturday, Sundays, national insurance does not count Sundays. You don't get paid for Sundays for national insurance. National insurance has a 6-day week. So if you are off from Monday to Saturday for that week on sick leave, you do not put zeros in there. So from whatever that figure they work out, they just tell you, you multiply that by 2.5 if you have less than 10 years, and then times the amount of years.
Yeah.
And that is your severance pay. That if they do this, they'll pay you less. Now that now becomes unfair dismissal. And then the labor department could be involved, because you just unfairly dismiss me.
Okay.
And the labor department then can take up that and bring it before a tribunal, and the tribunal will order them to pay the amount that you're entitled to. But however, the law, if the fifth schedule says that if they pay you any severance pay, it will be deducted from the amount the tribunal awarded. So you wouldn't get severance and compensation for unfair dismissal, two sums. You will get, if the unfair dismissal is higher, then you will get the difference. However, between 2 and 9 years, severance pay and compensation for unfair dismissal is the same amount. But 10 years or more, the compensation takes off. So you don't get 2.5 weeks for the first 10 years, and then 3 weeks for the next 10. If you have more than 10, you get 3 weeks for the entire period, from year 1 to year whatever it is, up to 19. Then if it goes on to 20 years, you get 3.5 weeks for the entire period. Also, what makes it even better for you, severance pay is calculated on the national insurance maximum. That's one of the nasty things that Tom Allen did to the workers of this country. He cut the amount of money that you can get for severance pay for the benefit of the employers, and tell people nothing. So you will only get the maximum of the national insurance. That is why people prefer to call it severance. They like to use it severance, especially if you're earning more than $5,200 a month. If you work for that, that's the maximum national insurance you pay. Your pay is based on that maximum.
Yeah.
If you are working for $10,000 a month, your severance pay would be based on $5,200. Now, if it is unfair dismissal, it is based on the full amount of your salary. That's why I say it takes off after 10 years. Right? So there's so much this stuff. This is
This is I'm telling him, because that's how I mean, I've learned so much, not because you're sitting here. This is something, even when this happened today, I said, but Mr. Franklin has been speaking about this, the conditions that the hotel workers have been working under. You have been speaking about this on this show so often, and look, we're coming to live it. I'm being told, Mr. Franklin, that it's about 700 workers. I know they reported on on the radio 500, but people who work there are saying, Marcia, it's 700 of us that they have, that were laid off. That's serious, even if
I
it's
can,
500. I
I can
mean,
give you an
yeah.
example of the bad behaviors that the government allows and promotes. We have a lot of expatriates that come to Barbados to work in the hotel industry, executive chefs. Mind you, the sous chefs and stuff, they do the work, but the executive chefs get the big money. But the
Hmm.
executive chefs, especially the at Sandyland, are never locals,
Okay.
right? But I remember speaking to the owner of Sandyland, or the chairman, and he told me some nonsense, but one, he could shut the hotel and all kind of foolishness because they treat people very bad. They call him one and curse him, and he don't want to see me ever again, I hear. But that's his problem. Don't look. They treat people very badly. And the government just give them work permits for jobs that can be done by locals. I'll give you an example of, let me call the name, man, and she ain't frightened. They want to oh, Rockley, what's the name? Just across the road from
Accra.
Accra. A few years back, I was involved in the case of Accra. When they wanted to hire the guy who is still there now, they said that they couldn't find anybody to do the job. And the government said, well, okay, we will give you this work. At first, they turned it down. And the minister of government then called his colleague, who was the minister responsible for immigration,
Yeah.
and prevailed upon him to give them a work permit for 3 years, with the understanding that they will train local to take over.
Mm-hmm.
And that local was doing a good job. All kind of praises he honor. And just before the 3 years was about to pass, they found a reason to fire the understudy and to go back and say to the government, well, you know, the understudy ain't working anymore, they're gone, so we want another 3 years. And the man is still here now all these years. It is a whole set of corruption, starting with the government and the hotel owners. Accra should not have that gentleman up there still, because the condition was that he's going to be here for 3 years to train a business and a study. And they get all kinds of trouble coming out of that place as well. I tell almost every, and I'm not, I'm promoting many hotels,
Yes.
but the only one that I get any people that try to seem to care was the Elegant Group.
Oh,
But
the
that
smaller. These are the smaller hotels.
no, the Elegant hotels, like you can say Colony Club, Tamarind Cove, and those people.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're a group. That is changing, because when it was controlled by locals, they only had about 1 or 2 expatriates running the place,
Mm-hmm.
but they sold it to Marriott. I know Marriott has come with their nonsense, and that now has
Mm.
started. When Goodenedgel was there as the director of tourism, director of HR, whatever called it, what the title was, you know, you had better cooperation. You could call and say, like, oh, we got a problem, we can fix it. And
Yeah.
he used to try to fix it. And he used to try to get his HR people up to date with the law and stuff and make sure they treated people well. Of course, they had problems, because I've been there and I have had instances where they had problems and they fought with them. Other times when you go and they recognize that they were wrong and the man is finished.
Mm-hmm.
But now that is all changing, because Elegant is now owned by Marriott. And Marriott seems to think that they are employing people in New York, where New York is an at-will state. You can hire and fire people as you like. You don't have any repercussions,
Right.
right? And that is the problem. That is the problem that we are having in Barbados. Government is more interested in securing the kind of money that those people can bring in, as opposed to protecting the dignity of the
Of the
Belgian worker.
worker, right?
Mind you, government itself, not going to switch now, government itself cares nothing, and I'm talking about this administration, cares nothing about the dignity of the workers. Because remember, before the sandal thing started, Marcia, I told you I was going to do, um, explain about what a contract is, what a contract
Right,
worker
and
is.
I'm hoping that when we have Stephen Lashley is going to come on, and he is on, and then I had some time at the very end, and so I'm hoping people are supposed to call in, but you know how it goes, that you will be able to get into that
Right?
some more, because this, I know the sandals thing is important. So let's take a minute and wrap up this segment, and then I promise that we're going to put some
No, we
time
can,
on the
we
end.
can, I can do that on Monday. I mean, on Sunday, it's not a problem. It's
Yeah.
just that I was just apologizing for not for taking all the time doing what I said. I was always what I planned to do. So that was by way of apology, because I wanted to deal with that, because we have too many people in this country where the government especially, and the government has set a very bad example. I know everybody else is following government's bad example. But what will happen, you see that money that we got in National Insurance Fund, if we are not careful, because of the government's behavior, when you looking to get national insurance, Marcia, sorry here, if you
Mhm.
can, I'm telling people no, if you can afford it, I can't, so I'll be poor. If you can afford it, put aside a little money for a rainy day in a pension plan, put it in the credit union and don't go back for it. Do something, because the national insurance is being eroded by this government, and it is not being replenished. And the government is
Wow.
making sure that it is not replenished, because it is cheating, or rather stealing, from workers in this country.
Oh boy. I mean, it's like these are things that you have been saying over a year now. And I'm really, again, I'm going to repeat, hoping that we are taking notes, and that a lot of you that you had questions answered tonight. And I made a mistake in terms of the numbers. The radio said 200, but it's really what not. It's really what I've also been told by workers, that it's 500. I said the wrong numbers earlier. So the radio announced 200 today. It came on the radio as an announcement that 200 were laid off. However, workers have said to me that it's 500, and so I just wanted to let you all know about that. Okay, all right, Mr. Franklin. Words cannot express the thanks. As somebody said, that you this is class. This is class. And we have been learning, hopefully, and taking notes. Well, tonight we have with us Minister Stephen Lashley. And I still say Minister Stephen Lashley, or former Minister of Culture, and Sports and Youth, Minister Stephen Lashley. And I have asked him to come on tonight because he wrote an article in the newspaper, and we were calling his name so much um, on Wednesday night on this program, that I thought that it would be fitting for him to be on the program. Mr. Lashley is a lawyer in Barbados, an attorney at law, and he's also an author. We're still waiting on that book on governance that he's working at. And I consider, one of our, to me, out of my experience of being in Barbados, the best minister of culture that I've had to deal with. I also highly respect John King, but we didn't have enough time there to prove himself. But I just want to publicly say that about Minister Lashley. We've had our many rows, and we've had it out, but I will say that that he has done a very, very good job in his tenure, in my estimation. So welcome, sir, to the Marcia Week show. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Well, thanks for having me. Good to see familiar faces on your program, including Mr. Jasper Franklin, who is continue to let his voice be heard across Barbados. So it's good to be here. And of course, I acknowledge your listenership as well.
Yeah, somebody said he attended the Great Lodge School.
Yes,
Yeah,
still
don't
the
tell
best school in
everyone.
Barbados,
Don't
if I
tell
may say.
everyone.
I know Mr. Franklin went to the University of Waterford, but he acknowledges that that law school was and
Sex.
continues to be a force to be reckoned with.
Mr. Lashley, we've just celebrated 50 years of Cropover, and I've only had the opportunity of celebrating 22 because of the time I've been in Barbados. And I want to know from you, as a Barbadian, how significant is it for you that Cropover is celebrating 50 years?
I think it's a big thing. 50 years in any activity is really a significant happening. And in relation to Cropover, if, of course, persons remember that Cropover had its origins within the context of the slave, um, the liberation of the slaves, emancipation, all of that really encompasses Cropover. And Cropover is not only about Kadooment and
Mm-hmm.
the finals, but Cropover encompasses the whole evolution of where we would have evolved after emancipation. The Cropover really heralds what our ancestors did to celebrate and to find some relief from the drudgery of slavery on the plantation. And
Mm-hmm.
that is why celebrated within Cropover is certainly the emancipation is a big component of the Cropover festival, and outside of the revelry, the effects, and so on, there's a huge component of our cultural, um, bonding, our ancestry within Cropover. So once we are getting to the point of 50 years and recognizing that we have come of age is really a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think many Barbadians recognize that we were actually celebrating 50 years
Mm.
because I believe enough was not said about it. And within the context of the festival itself, we felt as though that the focus on the whole mapping where we came from and all the stalwarts who would have contributed to the success of Cropover, there was not as much emphasis on that as I certainly would have wanted. And therefore, I think we missed the opportunity in a very cohesive way of focusing the attention of the nation on very critical elements of the Cropover festival. I think to
Yes.
many young people, they see Cropover only within the context of some of the very modern influences, uh,
Yes.
the Kadooment and how that is expressed. The Fet culture is now very prevalent in
Mm-hmm.
Cropover. There's nothing wrong with that, but Cropover has always been focused on a balance where the arts is celebrated as well. But I
Yes.
think to give expression to how our young people see their role in Cropover, I believe the 50th anniversary ought to have been used in a much more focused way
Yes.
to channel that energy and the attention of the nation on that. There were elements that, of course, were highlighted
So let
because,
me ask you: did you attend any of the crop over events this year for the
yes,
50th?
not many, but I certainly went to the Pickety Crop finals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I went to that, and I did go to one or two defense. I would have watched on the sidelines Kadooment as well as for their morning. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't participate as I sometimes do by picking up a costume, but I did watch and observe and listen very carefully to the views of many of the actors in Cropover. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
in tune, and they still reach out to me from time to time to tell me of various things that are happening in
That are
Pentecost.
happening. But so which of those events did you enjoy? It was the 50th. You said in your estimation, most people didn't even realize it was the 50th. But you went to some you watch on the sideline. Is there anything about the this cup over this year that you enjoyed?
Well, to be honest, I did not go to a lot of the events. I can speak to the finals, the Pickety Crop finals that I attended. Um, there were obviously some issues in terms of the production, but I always enjoy the Pickety Crop finals. I always enjoy listening to the Calypsonians, uh,
Yes.
as they jostle for the crown, and uh, and there was quite a bit of creativity coming through, notwithstanding the issues that occurred. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think people need to recognize that there's so much that goes into or ought to go into the planning of these major events. What we see is basically the culmination of it on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy that. And of course, I made some comments in relation to the production, but those are really comments relating to the structure for the
The
future,
production. Mm-hmm.
and to ensure that we don't, because we are at 50 years. um, Barbados's production of Cropover is a huge collaborative effort,
Yes.
and I'm understanding that some of the key persons whose brains are tapped for the production of key Cropover events, um, they're not being listened to as astutely as they should. So therefore, the blunders that you may have seen coming over some of the production is as a result of not ensuring that these experts are fully engaged in the
Mm.
process. I hope that is not true, but that is some of the feedback that
That
I'm
is some
getting.
of the feedback. So let's start with the pick of the crop finals. And I one of the things that I would often say, Mr. Lashley, over my 22 years of attending these events, and I didn't go to the finals this year. I just we had a lot, and I had a show happening on the night as well. But what I always say, it's just how well produced the event usually is. Everything clockwork, because I've been behind the scenes where we've had artists in there, or our group is dancing for an artist that's there, and the number of rehearsals. There is the technical rehearsals, and then you have the dress rehearsals, and I mean, there's so much that has to happen before people actually come to the show. and
Yeah.
and then the show, and that's how that allows the show to run smoothly. So, as someone, you were involved in the production of that event for years. As you sat there, and it started, what is it, an hour late, according to your
I think even somewhere around there, but I felt it was even longer than an hour.
a
But there
little
were
bit over
interruptions.
an hour. Somebody's saying, but probably about 90 minutes
Yeah,
late.
about, yes.
About 90 minutes late. We heard from Dwayne Grisettes that minutes before the show started, the artists did not have lights in backstage. It is so
Mhm.
unheard of, because I am accustomed to going backstage and in the
Yeah.
front and so on. As someone who, you were the minister of culture, what was going through your mind at that time?
I mean, I certainly believe that something had gone wrong, particularly in relation to the prep work that is involved. I mean, I have significant, and I've developed a lot of respect for the NCF over the years. Is one of the statutory corporations that I would have had responsibility for. I know the kind of work that they do. They work extremely hard.
Correct.
I know of the skill set within the National Culture Foundation, and that is why I was a bit taken aback and surprised that these things had actually occurred. Um, Certainly, when I was minister, I grew accustomed to starting shows on time.
Mhm.
all of
Correct.
the events, particularly, and that was driven by the very highly skilled technical management of the event. So the minister had nothing or has nothing to do with the technical management of these. Our role is to provide the kind of policy and financial support that is required. But the technical aspect,
And
um,
meet the president.
the technical aspect of the,
Caswell was saying
I
as
didn't hear
well.
that.
He
Sorry.
was he was saying about the
And meet the
president.
president when she comes to the show.
Oh, I didn't hear anything about that except
Yeah,
about
but
Me,
the.
me,
normally would greet the governor general in your time? You would be the person to greet them if they come to the show.
If yes, if the head of state attended the show, then the minister would usually greet the head of state. That's common. That's protocol.
Mm.
Um, and I've had to do that on several occasions. But I thought that, and when I made certain inquiries, I got information that suggested that some of those key people who usually would be very central to the successful management of these very elaborate um, productions, they were disengaged. I don't know what is happening within the NCF, and perhaps
Disengage. What do you mean by disengage? Because I don't
they were not
understand.
engaged. They were not fully involved in
Ah.
in what they are best suited to do, and that is what I would say based on the feedback that I've gotten. And I believe that you know that's something that needs to be addressed and responded to by the NCF. I mean, I understand that the staff structure has changed, and that of course there are other issues that persons are concerned about in relation to the National Cultural Foundation. But it is a known fact that if the inputs in production are missing for whatever reason, then you're going to have problems.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that I made the point to that you see sometimes you create changes and the changes are not properly thought through. I certainly had my concerns in relation to staging these major productions at the botanical gardens.
So
And
you're having a problem with it. You're thinking the location of it might have also contributed to some of the issues.
I think if you're going to create a, an event venue where you have to actually basically put down all the infrastructure that is required, unless this is carefully thought out and well planned,
Mm.
the possibility of problems will occur. The possibility of not having water when you're supposed to have water, not having electricity, and a host of stuff compared to a venue that is already established, like Kensington Oval, for example, where all the infrastructure is in place. I couldn't understand why you would risk having an event like the Pickety Crop at the Botanical Gardens when you already have a venue that is there.
So you're saying the
All the,
botanical garden is basically a shell that you will have to then
yes, that's correct.
create all of these amenities and all of
You have
these
to do
this
that.
infrastructure while you're at Kensington. It's already there, or the gymnasium or wherever else. You
It's already
already
there. And then
interesting.
if you look at it, certainly, the cost issue,
Mm.
it is obviously going to be more expensive to host or stage such an event in a venue where you have to pull in all the infrastructure than if you had to stage it, let's say, at the
Mm.
at Kensington Oval. And that raises the question then as to the cost of producing Cropover in such an environment. What I can say to you is that very early in my term as minister, we were able to bring Cropover to a surplus position, which meant that Cropover did not have to rely um, on the government, on the treasury for
Really?
finance. Yes, yes, we were able to run Cropover at surplus, and therefore there was no need then to have supplementaries in relation to the management
Mm.
of Cropover. I understand that for the first time we've had supplementaries. I have not looked um, at the financial statements of the government, but I understand that supplementaries have been requested in
Mm.
relation to that, which takes us back, if that is the case. It takes us back
That's
because
interesting. That's in because and I think you're right because I used to remember hearing the artist saying, but they make it. Cropover is making a lot of money, and I mean
yeah,
it's $1 million industry here.
it is more than that. It's a multi-million. The last
Multi-millions.
estimate we had, certainly in 2012, 13, in that vicinity, the estimate was about $80 million that
Mm,
crop over generated in the local economy. And even that figure, of course, there is yet to be a proper study
yes.
to determine the full impact of the festival on the Barbados economy. And I think that that's something we did do a mapping
Mm,
exercise in relation to the impact of the creative sector on the economy. But there's need to be a more serious approach. And even when I was the minister, I would quarrel very much in terms of the approach or the focus, even in the government that I was in terms of our focus on the creative sector, because I believe that the creative sector can contribute much more to the economy of Barbados if the policy framework is taken much more seriously than we do. Um,
mhm.
I mean, if I was looking at some recent statistics in relation to UNCTAD and the creative economy outlook for 2024 globally looks very good. Um, Generally, for example, in 2022, we had the creative sector export surge to a mammoth $1.4 trillion. So what I'm saying that, and developing countries have been increasing their export in relation to the creative sector.
Hmm.
My thinking is that somewhere along the line, I believe that our focus has waned to some extent. I don't feel the buzz. I don't sense that there is a buzz anymore in relation to the creative sector. Now,
Mhm.
we took a position that the creative sector must be more focused in that the management of it should be given to a separate agency other than the National Culture Foundation. We created, as you know, through the Culture Industry Development Act, a separate body that managed the creative sector.
Mhm.
And that was meant to give it focus, to be that pivotal
But
point.
before you get there, because I want to complete the pick of
Or
the
crop
crop
over.
over,
Yeah.
because I mean what you just said there, I mean in terms of analyzing how we're using the budget, how we are spending. I think that is so crucial. It's a very important point that I've noted there. But you made mention in the newspaper article about Junior Monarch that it had to be rescheduled. Is that do you know what the reasons were for that, and would there be costs involved in that we would have lost
My
some money there?
my information is that there were weather considerations in
Mm-hmm.
relation to the rescheduling of the junior monarch.
Mm-hmm.
My concern though is that usually, certainly what we did in relation to the junior monarch is a developmental program. It's not just a competition.
Mm-hmm.
It's a developmental program in relation to our young budding calypsonians, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore the way in which a young person will respond to a rescheduled show
Mm-hmm.
is going to be very different to how an adult person will respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to be responding very differently. We had taken the position when I was minister that crop over occurs during the rainy season,
Right.
right? So you have to plan effectively for rain or bad weather.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly in relation to the junior monarch competition, we felt that we should have a backup plan. And we always had a plan where, in the event of bad weather, the gymnasium was already set
Mm.
up. In other words, we didn't have to wait. Once crop over is being stage, the gymnasium was booked, it was set up, we had a stage there, we had equipment in place, we had all of the technicals that could be easily activated in the event that we had to move the Junior Monarch from one location outdoors to indoors. That
Whew,
was
that's some serious
so,
planning.
so
You listen to this, Mr. Franklin. This is top class kind of a
right.
planning, and that's why Barbados stood above the rest in
It
terms of our productions.
it isn't top class. It looks top class because the rest are so poor.
Yeah.
But this is normal planning, you know. This
Yeah.
isn't this
What you
isn't
had,
major.
yeah, what you had then in this year, you were forced to reschedule a show. As I understand it, the gymnasium was not pre-booked
Why?
and it was not set up, right? And therefore you had no choice but to reschedule the show. You could not then take the show, the competition, directly to the gymnasium because it was not booked and set up. Now and I mentioned, of course, that there was a dropping on the ball. That is unheard of within how Cropover is planned. So what I'm saying, and
Hmm.
I did say that these issues, and I'm not necessarily bashing the NCF, I'm just making the point at a national level that there should be a very immediate and urgent meeting of the stakeholders to ensure that these issues that occurred will be fixed for next year.
Hmm.
Cropover is no longer a national um, display. It is now an international show. There
Yes.
are persons who, and you recognize that the calendar for Cropover is hardly tweaked from year to year because
Exactly.
next year's program is already or should already be being marketed
Yes.
by the Barbados Tourism Authority. So the Cropover product is a product that persons throughout the world plan for in advance. So where we have issues, I think as a mature
Yes.
democracy, then we should openly discuss them. And if you're going to take your lashes, take your lashes, but we'll and come again with a explanation and a focused plan to ensure that these things do not occur. So my intervention really in the discussion was to basically remind Barbados that the most critical partners in Cropover are our stakeholders.
Yes.
They're the vendors, the calypsonians, and that is why I don't know if you remember early in my stewardship, the vendors were telling me that they had to go to the NCF and park out in the car park overnight, sometimes for 2 nights, in order to get a permit to be a part of the various events. And we put a stop to that by ensuring that vendors were given, your appointments. You were treated as an entrepreneur and given appointments by which you get your license. And in fact, if you were operating in Cropover, if you had a stall in a spot at Kadooment for 3 successive years, you were automatically given that spot. So you didn't have to come to the NCF except to pay um, for your stall.
Are you hearing him clearly, Mr. Franklin?
Loud and clear.
So,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
hope that these practices are still in place because I'm getting rumblings coming back to me that we seem to be regressing in a number of these important areas. I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you one of the things that we responded to stakeholders to had to do with separating the pick of the crop final
Mm-hmm.
from the 4-day morning. And the reason for that is that, and you see what happened on this occasion when the pick of the crop started late and 4-day morning was supposed to begin at 1 o'clock. So
Yes.
you had persons who were at the pick of the crop who had to scramble to get out of the pick of the crop to go and put on their costume and so on to be a part of 4-day morning.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the stakeholder input, we made a decision to separate. So you would not have 4-day morning the same night of the pick of the crop. You have it the following day.
Mm-hmm.
and it meant
Mm-hmm.
that persons could
Makes
enjoy
sense.
the pick of the crop final and then go home and get ready for their morning the next day.
Yeah.
Now, these
This is this.
changes have been made, but I haven't heard much explanations as to why they were made. But to me, there are regressive changes in relation to the management of crop.
Yes. For an $80 million, multi-million-dollar industry. Now, I want to go look quickly at 5.0. It is being said by persons who got dressed. You know, when they're going to these events, people dress up. So they would have spent money. They went and done their nails and their hair and the makeup and all of that. And it's when they get there and they are, and and you know, that they're told that it is now postponed to the next day. Again, I think are you going to say that you would have had you would have another venue, an indoor venue for such event?
But that event is a fairly huge event. I don't know you can have a indoor
Mhm.
facility for that. I think what was missing was proper advisory in relation to the postponement. I understand though that this was fueled by uh, some announcement or indication that there was going to be some bad weather system impacting Barbados. I can't speak directly to that, except to say that something would have to be very wrong if you know of a weather system and you have persons who actually only find out about the postponement by turning up at the show. So that speaks to communication and effective ensuring that your patrons are kept abreast of what you're doing. Because there were persons who actually said to me that they weren't going to go back to the show because they felt annoyed at that particular thing. So I think again it speaks to how the planning is being done, and and certainly whether the persons who are skilled in these events are being utilized. I also got complaints. I don't know if any reached the media, but I received some complaints in relation to from local promoters,
Mm.
and this is something that concerned me because my information is that local promoters are complaining that they are not getting the support that they would normally get. Um,
Mm.
I understand, and this is something that can be clarified if the information reaching me is wrong. But I understand that during this crop over, that local promoters received hardly any support either from government or the tourism officials.
And can I stick a pin here and say something, Mr. Franklin? And I can attest to this. This minister of culture that sit here tonight. I know of promoters that I mean, supported, and I watch over the years how they developed till they were able to fly on their own. I know I have to say it because I saw it in operation. I had to cut you to say that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that these are concerns and these are things that need to be watched. Um, the concern is local promoters are saying, well, we are not getting any support, but international promoters are getting the bulk of support, which creates a problem. I understand that at least one international promoter received in the vicinity of 250,000 US dollars,
Wow, half a million Barbados, if it's true.
half a million Barbados dollars. I understand that is what has annoyed the local promoter
Hmm.
promoting fraternity. Now, if that is not so, then perhaps it needs to be clarified whether local promoters, got any support vis-a-vis this kind of excess, to my mind, in relation to international promoters. Now, we've always had international promoters. The question is, though, you've got to establish a balance, and you cannot be saying that you are excluding local promoters from financial assistance, but you're given a huge chunk of reward to international promoters. It creates a problem, and that's not what the Cropover opportunity, because it is a opportunity. Cropover is that time of the year when many promoters plan their activities with a view to earning much needed income. And that is why the figure that has been tossed about of $80 million generated in the economy is so critical, because there is an opportunity to make money in Cropover, but there is a need from a policy perspective to create balance, to ensure that persons either don't feel or are actually excluded
Yes. And
excluded from the pie.
you know, we're going to go on to talk about some the Ministry of Culture on a whole, but Pete Way is saying something here. And he says, who kept on the international performance of Soca 5.0 after it was postponed? How much did it cost us? Because that's why I said that there must have been costs that were incurred, because the sound persons who would have set up that, all of those, because you have a shell, so now you have to set it all up, then you will have to pay them,
Yes,
and
and
then pay the
that's
next.
important. That's an important point, because the whole idea of setting up a venue entails significant investment. You have to allocate funds for that. So if you have engaged, let's say the sound providers, and you've
Mhm.
put in place all of their equipment, which cannot be just this easily dismantled, you have got to pay for that particular night. The same thing would have obtained in relation to the postponement of um, Junior Monarch. You would
Right.
have had to put
Yeah.
in place significant infrastructure, and you would have to engage those providers who are going to bring their equipment to your venue. So because you have determined that for whatever reason that you have to postpone, you still
Mhm.
have to meet that cost.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for them to give us, tell the public, what have we made a profit, Mr. Franklin, have we made a profit this year on Cropover,
I think it should be. I think it should be standard. Certainly, what we did each crop over, we gave a report on the performance of crop over,
Mhm,
and I'm not getting a lot of that. We get reports that are quite general, but I think we need to have every year a
mhm.
report on the performance of crop over from a financial perspective, in terms of what monies were provided by the treasury, for example, towards crop over. What was the performance of all the events? Because you have several events in Cropover that requires allocation of funds. You have obviously the income from tickets and stuff like that, but there's a need for there to be a proper reporting of how Cropover has fared each year. I think we lost you there for a short while, Marcia.
Mr. Franklin, you've been listening, and we're gonna go over to discuss the Ministry of Culture on a whole. But what are your thoughts so far, based on what Mr. Lashley has said to us this evening?
Um, what I can say to you is that friends and family don't and great productions don't mix. That was the problem, you know. You had too many people who only claim to fame is that they had an association with the people at the top. You know, I remember we had Cranston, we during your time, Stephen,
Branson
who
Brown.
Chancellor Brown, who could put on anything, right? He had a great thing with him, and it worked. And like you said, it is planned for the next year. Well, you know what's going to happen next year, and probably the year after. I didn't see a lot of that. Like for instance, when they canceled or postponed 5.0, you know, it was just a mixture of arrogance and stupidity combined. You should never have the two combined. You know, you can be arrogant or stupid, but you should never be both. You had weather forecasts professional weather forecast in Barbados and coming out of the United States. When I'm telling you that I can got bad weather in Barbados. And you wait till they actually come, they say, they're serious here, they mean what they say, and they show up, and then you have people up there who went and get all the eyelashes put on and the fingernails do and that kind of stuff. Not only that, but they get wet. You know, that was the poorest. I have never seen it this bad before.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It requires, and that's why I said, I mean, notwithstanding there were, I'm sure persons enjoyed themselves at Cropover. I mean, Cropover is such of a huge happening because you
Yes.
have the private sector aspect, you have the FET aspect, and I always encourage, I met with and encourage those promoters of FET because they actually their role is very key to the whole generation of product and so on. You know, how the whole festival is able to create opportunities. And many of the FET promoters too are young people who have gone and honed their skills. So there's a huge opportunity in Cropover. But in relation to the events that the NCF is responsible for managing, certainly the NCF is financed by state funding, and there is certainly no excuse why you do not come every year and give a report of a financial nature in
Yeah.
relation to what has happened. Have you had a surplus? Have you had a loss? And what are the contributing factors? How are you going to finance it? Because don't forget, if you suffer a loss in the management of the festival, then that loss has to be met by some kind of supplementary funding
Mm-hmm.
through Parliament. So you're still talking about the importance of accountability and ensuring that you can explain what really has happened. And I
Yeah.
think it should now be standard every year, not only to talk about, you know, with the fact that the festival went well and we had a lot of tourists and stuff like that, but I believe that there should be a standard arrangement where you meet the press, you explain the financial performance of all the various events in Cropover, and then you outline the plan for the next year.
Marcia, I want to touch something now, and I know, let me tell you, I've known Stephen from the time we were boys. We were cadets together. I was a better cadet, of course, but we wouldn't dispute that. But I've always known him to be diplomatic, you know, and he chooses his words very carefully. I don't. And you spoke about those private fets that we're having and stuff, and I've seen you on the road and costumes that, but decent. I've never seen you in something that your children and famous said, my father looked like that, my father was something, but you have children as well. But how do you react to a minister on full view of the public with a musician or a performer behind that person gyrating? I've never seen you as minister do it. I've seen you try to dance, and forgive me for that. But I have never seen you, or as a matter of fact, any other minister behave in that manner. I'd like to hear your comments on that.
Well, I didn't have the privilege that you had of seeing that event, but you see, along with the responsibility of being a minister comes with how you are portrayed in public. I certainly, you enjoy yourself, but you also have to make sure that when the cameras light on you, they don't see you or put you in a particular light. You still have
Why
to,
is why is that?
because of the responsibility. Your role as a minister doesn't end and begin. It's a continuum. So your image is very important to protect. Certainly mine, I felt that my image was important to protect. Um, so notwithstanding what you may do, just ensure that you're not caught on the cameras in a particular compromising position, because after Cropover, there's always the classic about it is that once Cropover ends, the footage is still there. The footage of what occurred is still there. So
Yeah,
you have to manage that properly.
yeah,
That's the
You,
and
most
you see, Marcia, what I said, he was always a diplomat from young,
but I was reflecting on that, and I was speaking to a past manager of Kadooment. I can't say the name today, and we were talking about it was under your administration as well, and we were just saying how we would see you at events and you have on your little outfits, or you have your mud on you, but I would never imagine that you would be just gyrating on a female. I couldn't imagine that you would do something. I couldn't see you doing that as Minister of Culture. As much as you are there, you have on the mud, or you're usually also at Kadooment in your little outfits and so on. But we've never seen any of our officials doing anything like that. So something like that would be a little odd for all of us to see. But I want to hasten us on because Caswell is going to get you in little trouble on here. But pull you out of your diplomacy. But sir, let's talk about the Ministry of Culture. You were Minister of Culture in this under this administration. The Prime Minister is really the Minister of Culture in Barbados, and then we have a minister in the Ministry of Culture as well. But let's look over the 6 years. What are some of the developments that you would have seen that you said, yes, those are good developments over the 6 years?
you
And
mean
what are some that you believe that needs to be improved on, that you've seen over the 6 years, and probably some things that they destroyed that you thought, why did they stop that? That could have helped us.
honestly, I have not seen, certainly as someone who is responsible for policy and passionate about the contribution of culture, because one of the things I had to push, certainly within the cabinet, was the fact that if we are going to speak about how the creative sector can transform or have a significant input into the Barbadian economy, it must not only be through our lips, but that focus must be matched by the resources that are provided to the ministry that has responsibility for the creative sector. And I felt very strongly about that. I felt strongly about that as it relate to the focus, because if you're going to move the population to a point where they see that the input or the value of culture and the creative sector must be seen through a different pair of lens, then you have to give it focus. And therefore, that's why we would have enacted the Culture Industry Development Act and also created the Culture Industry Development Authority. One of my disappointments in relation to this particular administration is that nobody talks about the creative sector anymore. From what I could, from where I sit, I don't feel a vibe. And Marcia, you're in the film industry as well. One of the things that we focused a lot of attention on was the film sector. We set up the film commissioner, and that establishment of the functionary of a film commissioner was pivotal to bring in a number of films and movies and productions to Barbados.
Can
So
I
I'm
can I
saying
just quickly say something on that?
yes.
That tonight, don't get me started on the film industry because we've regressed so much on that.
Mm.
But I went, Mr. Lashley, to the Barbados Film Commission, filmcommission.com. And anybody, if you think I'm lying, you go ahead and click on that website and you will see that it's no longer existent.
It's not going to exist, and that's a
No,
pity.
that and why that is important, I want to just say this quickly, sir, is that I was contacted, and Miss McLean knows that this is a fact I'm saying. I was contacted from a film industry, a film company that I would have met during your tenure where you sent us to Cannes, and he came to Barbados. You remember, if you remember those people that you brought to Barbados, and they reached back out to me years later and said, "Listen, we're in a meeting and we want to they're planning to film a romantic comedy, and they are planning to take it to Hawaii, but I am making a recommendation for them to come to Barbados because I came when your ministry had the foresight to bring, they're from HBO, to bring them to Barbados after we met them in Cannes." And you know what? He said, "I went online and I couldn't find where to, so can you help us out?" And I tell you, the long story short is that there was nothing. There was nothing in place that I could nowhere. No, he said, "Jamaica has a site. Can you send me to a site?" No, does not exist for our beautiful country of Barbados. And it took me days to put something together. By the time I went back to that man, I did it myself because the NCF didn't have it. I took it on myself and got a graphic artist to put together locations. By the time we got back to them, Mr. Lashley, they had already gone to another place. He said, "Marcia, time is money. We've chosen somewhere else already to film." And so if you go right now, the same film commission that you set up, Minister Lashley, you try it now and try, that website does not exist.
And that's a pity because you've asked me to speak to what is happening now and
Yes.
what happened before, but a number of the critical structures, the building blocks that were critical to incrementally creating a full-fledged creative sector in Barbados, to me, no longer exists. If you remove the Culture Industry Development Authority and you place that responsibility for the management of the incentives and the act under the NCF, the NCF already, to my mind, is overburdened with work. And you remove that thrust from a separate entity and put it under the NCF, I don't think that you're going to be doing any favors to the creative talent. Now, the culture industries focus, as you know, when we hosted CARIFESTA 13, they played a very central role to bring into Barbados, attracting to Barbados, I think, in excess of 200 buyers. And those buyers came from markets focusing on fashion, design, and a number of collaborative connections were forged through exposing local cultural entrepreneurs to those buyers. And the question is, what has happened since then? So to me, I think we have regressed in relation to the passion that I had in relation to moving Barbados towards establishing a creative sector. Now, film is only one area, but I mean, film is so important because much of the what happens around film, as you know, where persons are employed, if you are able to attract a major film producer to Barbados, look at the economic impact. If you look at the persons who are employed, and whether you're a cameraman, whether you are a taxi man, whatever it is that is required to stage a major film in any destination,
Yes.
is a prized possession. So my question is, what has happened to the film commission? I mean, we spent a lot of effort and time and resources establishing a film commissioner with a website, an active website. And I can say that film commission would have been very, very central to having a number of international productions coming to Barbados. One of them, I think one is Outer Banks, that came to Barbados
Yes.
and was very, very successful. And again, you're talking about youth development. The ministry that I
It's all
had
connected.
the pleasure of leading would have had in their youth development and youth entrepreneurship. One of the things we did was that we had a youth mainstreaming element that trained young people in film editing and so on. So what would have occurred? Those persons were either hired by the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, or they were available on island to provide the resources necessary for major international film productions when they come to
Yeah.
Barbados. And
But
it and I will just say this because the management of youth deviance and the whole
mhm.
question of crime and stuff like that, you're not going to put in place productive opportunities for young people in which they can imagine their futures, in which their talents can be allocated in a way that is productive to the society, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a
Yeah.
significant problem. So my big issue is I do not think that the culture industry should have been moved to the National Culture Foundation. I think that that was a very, very, regressive act because it has impeded, in my view, the very focused and concentrated effort towards moving the culture industries in a particular way. And some of the,
Marcia,
sorry,
no, sorry. I was just saying to my, I was going to ask a question, and when I look on the screen now, I see that somebody, it's me, has made the comment that I wanted to draw you in on, try to get you in a diplomatic mode. Because your film commission that you set up, that was there, and it would have been good for the country if we had kept it running. But you know what will happen? They might set up something and call it the something commission or whatever else, but it will not be yours. Just like the Integrity and Public Life Bill, or the Integrity and Public Life Act that the last administration passed, that they did put in place. So, we got one that we can do in 100 days.
that is still not being enacted.
And it's still not being enacted. We have also the 30th of November. Oh no, be here. The pledge will be the pledge. The anthem will be anthem is done, and the pledge we meant independent, and then we try to wipe it up by doing. Is to my mind, you can tell me I'm talking for this. You can't do that. We go back line up. You can tell me anything. That I think that this is in a mode of behavior that they're trying to wipe out anything that previous administrations have done, and especially previous DLP administration. I don't think I'm wrong, but I would like to hear your comments on it because everything that you have done, or the Democratic Party has done in government, they'll find a way to repeal and replace, even putting back the same thing in place. But it is a way to be, oh, we did that, and tap your chest and say, oh, we did that, not
Yeah.
realizing that it was done before we just changed the name.
Before Mr. Lashley responds to that, I mean, we literally have 5 minutes left, Mr. Lashley, but I just wanted you to just quickly, don't forget Caswell's question, but quickly tell us what the purpose was for the Cultural Industries Development Act, and where you went ahead. And to me, this was something that all of us as stakeholders were fighting for years. We literally had an office. You believe that, Mr. Franklin? There was an office there in Wildy that we could walk up the steps, and we knew that we had people in offices there that if we had an issue, we had a project. It was, they had all the laws. If I'm filming, I had questions. You had your place that you could walk up the steps, and that they were going to deal with those issues. Can you tell us just quickly what that bill was, what that act did for the cultural industry, so we could see why it is so we're stepping back into the dark ages and closing that office? And
I
then
have
go
a
to
document.
Caswell.
I have a document with me. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
130, 32 pages of achievements of the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth. It was one of my last acts. It was supposed to be published, but of course we were not in office sufficiently long after this to publish it. But in this document, and I plan to publish it at some point in time because I think
Yes, you should.
read this document. This document outlines some very key achievements. The Culture Industries Development Act was essentially a key piece of legislation aimed at creating a, a number of incentives for the creative practitioner. And those incentives were basically just as how you have incentives in tourism, where you have a culture project, you could get financing for that culture project. It was a focal point to transform the sector into a very capable sector designed to ensure that you have trained personnel there to provide the necessary training and incentives to the sector. So funding was one of the things, as you see on the screen, incentives, cultural projects, and of course we established a separate board because the board was there to provide the policy framework and direction. As Marcia said, you had an office where you could go. There was a registration process for
Yes.
artists. In other words, once you are a registered artist, for example, I'll give you one example. If you were a musician and you were registered under the Culture Industry Development Act as a musician, and you receive your certificate of registration, and you wanted to have a cultural project, your culture project could be your business of what you're doing in your quest at expansion of your musical business. You could then import free of duty
Yes.
equipment and so on that is needed to progress your business. Now, the act, as I understand it, has not the, at least one thing that has not happened is that they have not discontinued the act. The management
Mhm.
structure has now been passed on to the NCF, an agency that you could see. And I heard one of the officers from the NCF saying, well, yes, we have gotten some criticism about Cropover, but people don't understand that it's only a small staff at the NCF. We are doing our, and I have no doubt that they're doing their best. But then if they're already stretched for resources, why then would you put the responsibility for culture industries onto the NCF?
Right.
The momentum of this revolution, I call it a revolution in the creative sector, the momentum for that has significantly waned under this administration. And therefore, all of the things, I mean, we had collaborative arrangements with the EU in which we had a focus on fashion design. We had a whole training program on fashion design. And of course, part of the plan was to use the local cotton to create products that then can be exported, because one of the key roles of the Culture Industry Development Authority was to focus on the export of creative products and services, because you're not going to be able to impact the earning of foreign exchange in the creative sector unless you can export. And one of the problems that we've had in Barbados is that we have been too import centric, and therefore a lot of our creativity and creative talent is not only about exporting music, exporting songs and so on, but exporting the creative talent of persons in terms of managing other activities in other jurisdictions. So the
Yes.
Culture Industries Act was designed to do just that. Marketing was a key aspect of it, training and creating the necessary facilitation to ensure that our creators could be helped. I mean, you would have gone to Cannes as part of one of the initiatives that we did to give
Yes.
our film producers the exposure to the international world, because you can't talk about development of film without creating the connections to allow you to thrive. And I hope that someday we will see Barbadian film producers being seen internationally, taking their services international, not necessarily only in Barbados, but across the globe.
Across the globe.
And those inflows of what you make, because what a lot of people recognize is that it benefits Barbados where when our creatives can produce internationally, because then you're going to bring those monies back to Barbados.
Yes. which we did when under your when we were able to go through the diaspora conference. Remember, you guys had that diaspora conference. I know the
of course,
arts were able, those in the cultural industries, I tell you, benefited tremendously from
they
that
benefited.
because
And
we were, yeah,
I will tell you this: when we took the giant step of hosting CARIFESTA 13, it was not just to host CARIFESTA and just be the next country to host CARIFESTA. We took a position that CARIFESTA 13 would be the engine by which we would move the creative sector forward. And therefore, the Lloyd Erskine Sandifer Center was transformed into a hub in
mm-hmm,
relation to having international buyers, having persons who would come and see the potential of exporting creative goods and services. And not only that, but we looked at what will happen after CARIFESTA.
yeah,
CARIFESTA was linked to the Culture Industry Development Act because we brought buyers from international markets to Barbados, and therefore after that, we then ensure that those buyers will connect to Barbadian culture entrepreneurs with a view to the future. I don't know what has happened since then. I believe and I hear that we are about to host another CARIFESTA. I hope that in hosting another CARIFESTA is not going to be seen as a grand show, but that there is a plan that will benefit our creative talents. We have people who invest their whole lives in the creative sector,
yeah,
but
right,
the returns to them have not been as significant as they ought to be, because
yeah,
if you understand the dynamics of Barbados is a relatively small economy. But if we're able to provide the support, and this is where the Culture Industries Development Fund was designed to achieve, provide that funding. Many cultural entrepreneurs and creatives, as much talent as they have, if they don't have
mm-hmm,
the necessary financial support to take their cultural goods and services to market, they don't benefit, and the country does not benefit.
okay.
I have seen, I have seen that there has been and that is my major disappointment. That I have not felt the pulse of the creative sector in Barbados since we left office in 2018.
And you're not, there's no lie there, Miss Minister, Mr. Lashley, no lie there. We are suffering. Seriously, as really nothing is really happening. Now let's answer Caswell's question, because something that is so important as BCDA, the Barbados Cultural Industrial Development Act, so important to all of us in the industry. We fought for it. People spent hours helping you to create that bill. Remember, you were
Yes, I
getting
remember.
information from the
Uh,
stakeholders. They were cussing you. They were doing
yes,
all kinds of things. They thought that it was never going to happen. And as a lawyer, you use all of your skills and you made sure that happened. But we're seeing changes with that. It's not even advertised. We don't even have the website that you go to register your register to be an artist, then to as a to register your artist company, your artistic
I think
company. It doesn't even work
I would
either.
surmise.
Do you think that is because of politics why it's changed? That's the last question, because I really have to go after this. 3 more minutes and then we have to end tonight.
I think, I mean, in answer to Kazil's question, I think that from the time that we would have had the all of the PR in 2018, don't forget one of the things that was sold to Barbadians by the Barbados Labour Party was that the DLP had engaged in what they call the lost decade, and therefore everything that was spun was designed to destroy or diminish the value and input of anything that the Democratic Labour Party government would have done. And therefore, caught up in that would have been this very brilliant effort within the creative sector. You had to find a way to either put a different stamp on it, or to indicate and show that, look, we can do it this way rather than the next way. And that's why I say that, and I agree with Caswell's position in that regard. it was part of the machinations of creating this aura that you had a decade of this last decade. So you couldn't find anything. It was important not to be able to find anything that was positive that happened under the Democrat Labour Party government. It was all meant to be negative, or there was an intention to take whatever was done and change it up. For example, the very successful Soca Royale that was being staged successfully at the Bushy Park facility has not been staged since 2018. And that event was hugely successful at Bushy Park. Persons look forward to it. And no explanation has been given as to why we have not had a Soca Royale. So there are questions to be answered, and I believe that they should be answered. But I would say that, to tell the truth, I don't think anything could be done or could have been done to diminish the significant impact of what would have occurred while we were managing the creative sector and in the Ministry of Culture. Too many lives were touched to diminish it. It is unfortunate that what's happening in terms of the film industry in relation to the culture industry, development, funding, and so on. And that whole structure seemed to have been dismantled. And I really believe that in the interest of the proper utilization of public funds, because you don't just drastically overhaul something and put it somewhere. I would be a proponent of overhauling if what you get to is a better result of what you came and found. But I don't see that has been the case. I believe
Correct.
what you've done is that you've moved from a very high level to now insignificant things. Nothing is being spoken about in terms of the creative sector. There are no programs that I hear of. There's no focus coming from the government. One of the things we should be now looking at is having another study on the impact of the sector. We had collaborations going with the central bank, because you cannot talk about the impact of the creative sector unless you have the central bank governor each time that he speaks in his report speaking about what the cultural industry sector has impacted on the GDP of Barbados. And to get
Yes.
there, your statistical office has to be able to factor in the input and measure it. And we did have workshops with the statistical department and with the assistance of UNESCO, designed to take us forward in terms of being able to accurately measure the
Wow.
impact of the creative sector. So all of this work happened under the so-called lost decade years. But this was very important work that we were able to do. But government is meant to be about a progression. And no government in Barbados ever starts from ground zero. Each government starts from where the other one left off. And therefore, those key planks and pillars of development in which Barbados's tax dollars were used to create systems ought
Mm-hmm.
not to be easily dismantled unless you have very good reason to do that. So
Yeah.
I would say that we are missing a significant chunk of that work that's happened. The structures were there. Persons whose lives were significantly changed
Mm-hmm.
through the dynamism that occurred in the focus on the creative sector and the Ministry of Culture. They will tell the story. They meet me and they will tell me different things. But that momentum and that thrust, the linkages that are important internationally, particularly in Europe and in the US,
Mm-hmm.
by which the creative sector can thrive. And we cannot. We are supposed to be able to say and measure at least every 5 years. We've seen the dramatic successes of Rihanna, for example. We're supposed to be able to boast of other Rihannas, and not only in the musical sector, but in other sectors as well of the creative sector. So unless we are able to do this on a consistent basis, then I have some question marks on
Yeah.
whether you're being successful in that regard.
Mr. Lashley, let me just say to you, thank you so, so very much. And people are asking to have a night on culture, where we just bring in all, different stakeholders and
I think
really
so. It'd
see,
be very beneficial to do
yeah,
that.
to see what can we salvage of this situation. I know that a lot of people in film, they are complaining, they are they feel like fish out of water. A lot of people are leaving Barbados, which is sad. But I just want to say thank you so very, very, very much, for this discussion tonight. This has been very enlightening, I must say, and thought provoking, and help us again to be able to connect what we're doing, seeing it as an industry and not just people, jumping up on a street or having a fit, but it's an industry. And the last comment I'll make, someone sent something to me and said, think of Kadumet Day and sections of the band looking like those Carfesta images on the streets rather than only bare backsides. That's an interesting one. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
So thank you for
Mr.
having me.
Yes, thank you very much. God bless.
God bless you.
Yes, bye. Miss, oh my goodness, that was something else. And let me see if Rose. I'm not sure if Rose is still there. She could give me an indication if she's still available. But that was something else, Mr. Franklin.
You see, we have a government now that does not have independent thinkers. All roads lead to one place, and as a result, there's all the failures happen because no man knows everything, or no woman in this
Mm-hmm.
case knows everything. And when you can allocate to yourself all those ministries and then put people in there to say that they're ministers responsible, they're not ministers responsible for anything. They're not responsible. They can't sign anything into law. They can't sign anything because they're not the minister for that portfolio. Mind you, I've seen Ryan Strong sign orders for the tax. The only way he can do that is if the prime minister overseas and left him as acting minister of finance, But he's been signing things, and even with one with the sovereign spare that the employers who failed, I believe it was an avenue to save them from paying back the money, because remember I told you that if the national insurance pay the money, then the employers have to pay it back over
Yeah.
time. But if a minister who is not the minister of finance signs an order to create a new structure, and it was not done through the tribunal, those same employers can say, but no, we have authority, and you could threaten the court, or you could threaten whatever you want. He had no authority. I believe it was a way to get away from those people paying, and I'm beginning to see it.
Wow. I tell you, I see Alwyn Bob is on because we have a little section, Mr. Franklin. As you know, people have been asking for this section. Sometimes they don't come on. I know that Judith is wanted to come on as well. But Alwyn is here where I'm asking people to come on if they're sick and tired of this motley government, to click the link. Click the link. I hope you had taken the link. I'm going to put the link up again, folks, and come on. And we're going to go over an extra 15 tonight. Um, yes, because I know Mr. Franklin have something he wants to say, although I know he promised he could do it on Sunday. But we want to give them, Mr. Franklin, the time to share their thoughts. And I see Alwyn Bob is on, and I'm going to ask him to open his microphone. You don't have to open your camera if you don't want, but we would love to see your handsome face. Um,
Well, that is probably why he
I'm feeling some time because I'm overseas with a group of athletes. Good night to everyone. Let me say first of all, a good night to every person on the whole panel. Thanks, Marcel, for sending the link. And you know that my area is sport. And I'm
Yes.
currently
So
in
I should tell
Candlewood.
you you have 3 to 5 minutes
I
to be able to tell me what
I
you're
will tell
tired about.
you, I'm tired. I'm overseas currently with a group of athletes. You know, everybody cannot be selected on a national team. But as a coach, you have to provide those opportunities for the athletes to still compete with their peers within the Caribbean and even internationally. So that every year you've been taking athletes to Canada during the summer to get that type of competition
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
to play the pool of sport. I'm so sick of it. And every year that we have at the end or during a major championships, like world championships, correct games, we get the same type of discussion, the
Mm.
same type of promises. And I'm also tired of the minister. Every time he opens his mouth, he seems to be dissing the coaches of Barbados. No person that I know of other than inside the sports council are paid to be coaches. What I
Mm-hmm.
do and what the other athletic coaches do after they do what they are paid for by the government is their is to meet after school. Somehow after teaching an entire day, they summon the energy to organize a group for training. And
Right.
that is where it starts. So I am just tired of the lip service being paid to sport. And I believe that all sports should be treated fairly. We know that track and field and some other sports are get the recognition from Barbados that we cannot pay for. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if you are going to give cricket a large sum of money, you have to give the other sports and treat them the same because they bring substantial amount of recognition, especially when your athletes meet the finals at a major championship at Olympics. You cannot pay for that. So everybody know where Barbados is. Barbados as a country because of Shadi, and I just want to congratulate her out of all the.
Yes. Are you there? Are you there? Hello? Can you hear me, Caswell?
Yes, I'm hearing you, but I'm not hearing Owen.
Yes. Okay. Just to say that it's good for Mr. Bob to be able to share tonight of what he is sick and tired of this motley government. I've heard him talk about this all the time, and a lot of these coaches have to pull their pockets. They have to help to raise funds for these children to go away to represent Barbados. And I can understand. Yeah, and the coaches, there's nothing extra for them. Correct, Vihoy. But we want the students, we want the athletes to perform well. And so today, with Sade, Mr. Franklin, there's a big thing about with Sade and everybody jumping on the bandwagon. But I'm being told that, I mean, Sade is bringing such glory to this country, but I'm being told that there are others that they are taking care of way better than Sade. This same government you see here, but today they're going to put on a parade, you know. But I think, yeah, he might have gotten disconnected. Alwyn, if you're listening, if you can hear us, you can leave the studio. But I think he's made his point already. Let me see if there anybody else who is coming on. V Hoy, are you going to come on tonight to say what you are tired with and about in this country? Here is a link. Here's a link. I'm putting the link again, and you can take a screenshot of the link and you can put it in, search for it. Put it in the Google, in the you know what I mean. I forgot the term, and click on it and come in. Anybody else wants to come in? I look at check your WhatsApp. I sent it to you. Identity only in Christ says, I repeat, no youth opportunity, decline in national potential. Um, yes, Sade trains in Jamaica. And I'm still giving people that opportunity to come on. Judith, I know you had your points all lined up. Do you still have your points lined up from the other night? There were people who were ready to come on from the other night, Mr. Franklin, and we went over and with Dwayne, and she's not hearing me. Let me see if she's still there. Let me see if she's still there. I know that she had okay, good. So Judith is just telling me that she is about to come on. But Mr. Franklin, what is it you're most sick and tired about in with this government?
The disrespect that
Mm.
this government has for Bajans, and they think we are all stupid. I well recall this administration telling the people, "Oh, it's going to be better," and these things that the Dems are doing to us, they're not giving us any notice for bills or not enough notice. No, they're giving even less notice than the Dems gave them. They thought it was wrong. I hate hypocrisy. And they know it is wrong. And they will justify it. I see Senator Watson um, complaining for the identical things that they complained about. And but they were complaining about it too when they were in opposition. And they're doing it even worse than the other people are doing it. Then I hate the fact that they would relieve for the rich people of taxes and put those taxes on the poor. I call it, in one of my things, reverse Robin Hood. They're robbing the poor and giving to the rich. And if you look, you recognize that people got breaks from the money, the taxes that they owe to the government. For years, VAT and income tax, going back from 1968, people who did not pay taxes from 1968 to 2000, including close friends and family. But then you turn around and tax water. You see, and so I
Mhm.
want that hypocrisy. And when you
Well,
tell them,
one more, because I see some people are joining.
let them come in because
Okay,
I talk all the
okay,
time.
right, okay. Judith, good night, Judith. What are you sick and tired about the Motley government, of this Motley government?
Hi, good night, Marcia, all
Yes,
panelists and the loyal opposition. Thank you for having me.
yes,
Well,
sir, ma'am.
I- yes, I'm just going to make a few points tonight. In essence, first of all, I'm tired of feeling oppressed. I really do feel that way. Secondly, I'm tired of the rising cost of living, and the pension is not commensurate with said cost of living. It is unbelievable how everything is going up every week. Everything is going up. Thirdly, I'm tired of having to navigate potholes. Yes, roads have been fixed, but I still, where maybe I don't live in the right place, I still have potholes to be navigating, in my daily moving around. And this is all in spite of paying a tax at the pump, at the gas pump. Another bullet point I have here, I am tired of being ignored regarding my queries associated with the adverse effects. I've reached out on 6 occasions. The last time was last Saturday, and these have nothing to do with that. And these don't include your press conference. That would make it seven in all. August 14th, the 14th of this month will be 1 year that I have reached out, as I said, basically on 7 occasions during the course of a year. And I would have to say that I've been totally ignored, myself, and reached out on behalf of myself and others. And there has been no response, but I have not given up hope as yet. And last but not least, for tonight, I want to say that I am tired of the lack of transparency on the part of the government. So basically, those are I won't take up a lot of time because I know there are others that want to have something to say. But those are the 5 points that I wanted to make.
Thank you
You
so much, Judith.
and
Thank
you,
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 thank you.
you can hear me out. You heard me okay, huh?
Yes, we heard you very, very loud and clear. And
Okay,
yes, thank you so very, very much for sharing your thoughts with us. God
okay,
bless you.
Martin. You're
And
welcome. God bless.
thanks for your
Yeah.
support. Thank you. Yes. Thanks so much, Judith. And anybody else? We're making sure that we I'm going to put the link there again and come right into the program and tell us what is it, because they're listening. I know that they're listening, and we want to see changes. And so let them know what is it. What is it you're sick and tired about as it relates to this motley government. Somebody said it's not motley government. Well, she it's her government. She is who is in charge, so it is her government. Okay. Caswell, anything? I know you have quite a bit.
There's a motley government. You mean motley crew.
The motley crew. I'm not hearing from Rose, so I suspect that she's probably, because I know she had to rush from home, rush to be on. So she's probably getting herself refreshed, etc. But I had joined with Miss Corbin is there. Okay, she's actually there. Mrs. Corbin, what is it you are tired of, sick and tired of in this Motley's government? Give me your top four things.
um, I think it is, as Caswell said, the lack of respect shown by the within the lower house as well as in the Senate, the upper house, to the those in opposition, and not and by extension to the Barbadian public. Um, there's no need for that conduct. They've got all minus one seat, and there's no need for that kind of disrespect shown. And I'm sick and tired to the boring, 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 and accrued debt. And we are not actually seeing where it is being spent. Uh, Conditions are still bad at QEH. We had our issues with the school plans, various
Mm-hmm.
school plans. Um, since last year, parents are still waiting for that promised $100 for assistance with textbooks at the primary school. I um I don't want to put sick and tired on my already sick and tired body. It can cause emotional and physical and mental stress if we continue to look at what's happening. Sometimes one would want to take a step back and try to see it from afar, but we can't. I am not satisfied with the kind of representation by the elected MPs. They seem to have forgotten that they have been sent there by the people and for the people, and we don't hear their voices. Um, I don't know if they're afraid of losing their pick, particularly those in the uh, that have ministries or are junior ministers or ministers of state, whatever they call themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they are. Um, I'm getting an echo. Are you?
Um,
Is better now? Yeah, there was an echo. Um, I believe that MPs need to speak out when they hear the public. Say, for example, that cybercrime bill. The public outcry was sufficient enough for those MPs sent there, those persons sent there to say, look, Let me speak with my constituents. Let me hear what they're saying and be a mouthpiece for them. So I am frustrated and dissatisfied with the level of representation um, given by those elected. They are silent. They do not speak out on behalf of the people. I am not, I find his pleasure too at when persons speak out how they are labeled, and it would make one start to believe or want to believe that there are attempts to suppress us. I hear it coming quite often from the deputy president of the Senate. I hear it often coming from the minister responsible for culture. The quickest thing one could hear is critics. Critics. So are we being critics? When we point to persistent issues and conditions that are left unattended or barely attended to, um, so we're critics. We're critics to say that we are not satisfied with how the the celebration of 50 years of Cropover um, happened. Are we critics or are we saying, look, this is how we see it? Is it supposed to have been like this? What could have been done differently? And offer an opinion. I um I am totally not for the labeling of persons who do not say you are great. We love you. It is bigger than the person. It is the country. And so I those right now are my major concern. The borrowing, the debt, which we are not seeing to trickle down, um, or for the things that they say that they have borrowed the monies for. I am not satisfied with the kind of um, representation by those elected, by the people and for the people, and lack of transparency. It's reached a point where when I hear something coming from that side, I wonder if it is indeed the truth.
Yes.
And the contradictions, what we call the contradiction. It is we're seeing this and we're not doing it. And I am tired of sprung surprises, the distractions while things are then foisted on us and we're not prepared. I am wondering what will quickly come upon us on the tail of the last couple of days and weeks of
Can
of
I?
being on the heightened and high stilts. I,
Yeah.
I, I, I I could not enjoy this crop over because
Mhm.
I was saying what can happen when it
But can
over.
I tell you this, Rose, if
Yes,
I might
please.
interject a bit and
Yes,
say to
please.
you that I was only told, Mr. Franklin, I realized that Rose asked a very, very important question. After all of what we were, the merriment, what are they coming with? You're like me. I was wondering, what are they coming with? And it was only 2 days ago, I was there having just laying down and thinking and pray in a prayerful state. And I heard cybercrime bill. And when I checked on it, Mr. Franklin, do you know that we've been told, we got to understand that there's a report that, that they're no started back with the cybercrime bill, trying to get approvals from various persons on that commission, on this report. Okay. And when they started it, Mr. Franklin, the day after Cropover ended. The day after Cropover ended is when those people started that thing. And Barbadians need to wake up, Rose and Mr. Franklin, and realize the kinds of people that we're dealing with. Who's going to be thinking about cybercrime bill at that time? But no, get ready, Barbados, get ready, because they are ready to launch on us again, launch an attack on us again, attacking our freedom of speech and freedom of expression again, Mr. Franklin. It's rearing its ugly head again. The cybercrime bill is rearing its ugly head again. I can tell you that. So, Rose, to answer your question, that's what they're doing.
That it leaves me on edge. Another concern I have is what next when I pass the South Coast along that Garrison stretch. I'm wondering what next, and therefore that bothers me. It is more than being sick and tired. It is a constant company of things that are worrisome and things that bother, and one wonders, what do you do about this? I don't know, Mr. Brother Caswell, um, could you remind us around Christmas last year, when I think it was some bill that they hurried through when we were into the festivities of Christmas. Am I recalling correctly? Um, some hurried activity in the lower house. Do you recall that?
There are so many things that I get confused with because they did it so often with so many things. As a matter of fact, I have a note here, abuse of parliament, passing bills in all their stages and one there, despite the rules of the house. And so but there's so many. And there were so many when it was in the Senate. I know, again, there's so many that Tricia is complaining about. And I'm sick and tired of the independent senators. But probably two exceptions. Senator Tate and Dritz. The rest seem to think that they are there to serve the government. They're there to be appointed by the president to serve Barbados and to speak. You see them kowtowing to government. I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of the priest at St. George who thinks that he's part of the government. I'm sick and tired of the youngster. His father was a minister in the last administration. Boyce, you would believe he too was part of the not an independent senator. You don't see his behavior. His says, but that he looks like he's part of the government. He finds it very difficult to be critical of the government, even though when they deserve it. He finds a way to try to speak against things and then vote for them. It is too much hypocrisy. I'm sick and tired. I really feel that the president needs to put her foot down, get rid of some of them. But no, of course, she will not do that because they will claim that she's political.
Yeah. Someone here sent me, she's not able to speak because she believes they're going to recognize her voice, and that too I am sick and tired of, Mr. Franklin and Mrs. Corbin, that people in this nation are still afraid to express themselves. I'm sick and tired of that. And so she had to send me something because she says, listen, I'm going to get in trouble. I've been declared medical unfit to work by the government. And so she's worried. So she says, I'm sick and tired of the lack of progression and foresight of this government. Driving in the country, the roads are horrible, and I can't understand why the roads that are repaired, especially in the country, cannot be widened. And so people have so many things that they are. It's me says, I'm sick and tired of how deceitful and bossy the prime minister is. Okay, I won't read the rest of that, but folks, I am sick and tired. I hear it too often. I heard Dwayne was on here this evening. I actually called to check on him to see how he was doing. Not on here this evening, but the other evening, and he was so worried about what would have happened to him. A big man to come on to share his views, and he's worried. So can you imagine just the average person?
Marcia,
And
that is real. I tell
yeah,
you, people come to see me and they will say, Mr. Frank, I want you to do so and so for me. But don't call my name. And I say, but I can't write the chief nursing officer and say that a nurse from a particular polyclinic is being victimized and don't tell the nurse who it is. I have to be able to think. So don't bother them because people are too afraid even to stand up for themselves. The kind of fear, I have never seen this type of fear in Barbados. Now, mind you, I might not have been looking, but this thing is so pervasive and in all spheres of activity. That thing from Sandals today, somebody sent it to me and said, "Well, don't say you don't let me, they sent it to me via WhatsApp before you send it, Marcia. They sent it earlier in the week, but begging me not to let people know because they were afraid. This government is not a Labour Party government. It's a government of decadence. Our society is decaying under them, and I'm sick and tired of it. Look at the school children ahead. Look at the way they dress now, and they call it grooming policy. They are bringing us down to the lowest common denominator, and for their political gain. Everything is about politics and what they're going to get from it. Look at the fat mentality that they have. Everything in Barbados is encouraged by a fat, where people jump up and behave bad and dress skimpy. To the extent I sent you a video, a thing of some people who appeared on the road dressed in, and there were at least 300 pounds dressed in thongs and that kind of nonsense. And even the respect that people have for themselves now, it is dying because look, the government doing it, the prime minister walking up on stage with behind she doing foolishness that they curse about children for. I'm sick and tired of everything that these people have stand for. I do
yeah.
not know, like Stephen was speaking earlier today. You were trying to find him to find something that he thought that was good, that the government did well. And it was hard pressed to find out myself. And I was wondering if he found something that I didn't see because I can't see anything. And he was only talking about culture. I'm talking about the entire gamut. Everything was to suit to benefit their friends and family or people outside of Barbados who want.
But Mr. Franklin, look at even this thing. I checked with in Jamaica because as soon as I got it, I sent it to Jamaica, a big country as Jamaica, and they're not seeing this thing now that they're talking about some virus. And of course, we know that we don't use the other
Mhm.
V word, okay, but we can talk about it. But why do they think? Why do they think that they can send something like that to us? When I sent that to a doctor in Jamaica, he wrote back a big no in capital letter with exclamation. He says no. He's telling me don't believe it because around this time every year there's always a virus, and it's not life threatening, and we've had it year in year out, but they but nowhere else. There's no other Caribbean island. If somebody knows, they can tell me because I could be wrong, but based on my understanding, there's nowhere else that they're admonishing people to wear masks and so on. Why they think they can come to us, and they think that somehow we are going to just believe everything again. And I'm not saying, of course, everybody check with your own doctor. Check with your doctor. I am saying that I checked with a virologist in Jamaica, and they were saying to me, "What?" He was like, "Nonsense."
But
And this
Marcia,
is big Jamaica. Why isn't it in Jamaica?
no, but what is also telling is to show how they disrespect and they're really pretending to care about people, because why do it now? What happened when you had all those crowds in Cropover? Because if those things would have been a good melting pot for everything to happen, you got so many people mixing up with each other, and you are saying, "Oh, it was okay last week, but no, this week." It's a bunch of hypocrisy. It is stupidity. If you were going to encourage people not to wear masks last week, why all of a sudden this week it must wear masks? It is dishonesty. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of the dishonesty. I remember the Prime Minister saying that if you don't take that, you know what, and you die, she ain't gonna be able to help you. But if you take it and die, she can help you. Of course, then she became omnipotent, all seeing, all powerful God, that she can help people who dead. But so far, she's not helped the families that back. They have not helped the people who are ill as a result, because there are many people who suffered serious illness and death as a result of that, you know what? And the government of Barbados has not acknowledged it, even and all over the world, everywhere, every other country. England set up a big fund, you know, people in the States get money. All over the world, people got compensated because they were experimenting on us. And I'm sick and tired of the fact that everything that is coming down the chute, Barbados is the first up front to be guinea pig. I like using that word, guinea pig, even if it's not a word eventually.
I agree with you, Kaza, because not even the US, a big country. This is why I'm calling out the big countries. So in the Caribbean, you have Jamaica. If there is this virus, and if it, it is something that is coming, why only us? Or why are you asking us about telling us about masks? It doesn't make any sense to us. That's the thing. And again, I will always caution and say we are not medical people, so make sure you check with your own doctor. Okay, very important that we say that. We have to be responsible. But I'm just voicing my opinion, saying this is what I'm sick and tired of. Where things that they can't get away with in other countries, so you get up and it appears to us, that you just kind of, if he's as CASWELL is saying, is he's dishonest, because we were up and down. I was just at Kadooment and nobody was talking about anything. Why would we? If there was a virus, we should have worn the mask at Kadooment.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They believe. I'm sick and tired of the people who are elected to serve us and tell that they are servants being our overlords and treating us as though we are serfs, not smurfs, serfs.
You know, it's 2 minutes past 10. 2 minutes past 10. And I want to tell us to be careful, guys. Do not just believe everything that you're hearing, whether even on this show. Research what we're saying to you on the show. Everything that you heard, research it, but be very diligent in what we're doing. It's easy to research things these days, It's easy. The information is right there at our fingertips. And let us not allow people to, whether this show or anybody at all. Look at when they told us that it was the last decade. Huh? And look, we're hearing of all the grand things that happened under the Ministry of Culture during the tenure of the DLP. And you know what, Mr. Franklin, us having former Minister Lashley on here, you know that they're going to say we're DLP because we had him on. Because what they're intended is another thing I'm sick and tired of, is that it seems to me, Mrs. Corbin and Mr. Franklin, that this BLP government is intending that there is a one-party state. anytime anything for any other party to rise up and to represent the people, they do everything to push them down. And when they have them down on the ground, then they call an election because they're intending to have a one party state. And that's why they created the propaganda that it was a lost decade. Did you anything lost tonight in what Minister Lashley was saying? And you can go ahead and claim that I'm a DLP, but we have to be fair.
But let me tell you something. I am not BDQRR. But I will tell you that I have been accused of being a damn no because I say things. They didn't realize that when the debacle in the started in the Democratic Labour Party, that I was one of the people out there making the most noise, telling how to behave and criticizing them. Because I can call a spade, don't care whoever is playing the hand. Yes, I will tell you I like Ralph, and I will support him if he continues the way that he is.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I will be so blind as not to say to him, but Ralph, you're doing this foolishness. You know, or I don't agree with you.
Correct.
Nobody has that power over me. You know, except she who must be obeyed. I have to behave myself. You know, but I speak my mind. I speak what my mother would say the Lord loves, the truth. And I am not politically, I'm not here to promote any political party. If this government has done anything good, I will say so. But unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything that they've been doing good. And that's the problem, you know.
They have a lot of there's some good ideas there, but it's the execution. In some cases, that's the problem.
There are good talking points. They don't put anything in place to put those ideas and to get them wings, let them take off. That's the problem. I don't know the people that they have in place are capable. Because I am also sick and tired that every job that you have in the public service, you have a BLP politician getting it. It is strange that nobody that is independent or nobody that is a Democratic Party supporter gets a job in the public service. Only beasts have talent in Barbados right now. That is what I see it. People leaving the public service angry because they are the most suited person for the job. They organize an interview and they say he ain't do good. And next thing you know, somebody come in who don't know the work. And then the people got to train that person that just get a job over people who have done it for years.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of this nonsense where the Prime Minister has all this power and using it like a mallet to bludgeon people with.
Yeah. As somebody says, elections, Rose, you said, what are they going to do next? And they always just sit down, and I hate that so much. And it's so manipulative, they sit down and they know Barbadians and they use it. And I tell you, Barbadians, the time you are there and you are pointing a finger at the other parties and so on and tearing down the other parties, ask yourself your question: do you want to live in a one-party state? Because that is what this BLP government is seeking to do. You hear what I tell you? Don't forget, we've been telling you on the show. And when we speak like this, they like to say, no, we're not pushing any party, but we're trying to warn Barbados. We're trying to warn Barbados. They're trying to make sure that the DLP never rise again. They're trying to make sure that the UPP never rise, or any other party. That's what they want.
And they're trying to make sure that people who subscribe to those parties don't eat. Because just recently, they dismissed Dr. Haynes. Dr. Haynes, who had been on contract in the public service. Yes, was you look shocked. Dr. Haynes got dismissed 2 weeks ago, saying that they're not renewing his contract. A person who has been employed from the 1st of November 2001, all of a sudden, without giving them any reason, without bringing them to a trial, without doing anything, just saying they're not renewing this contract. And the government knows better, because when the government did that to Geriatric at QEH, and this went to court, and the court ruled in his favor. So the cases are almost identical. So they know that it is wrong. I actually went online and I picked up the case and I read it. So it isn't something that I'm guessing about, but they don't care. I'm sick and tired of them ignoring the law, because when the courts lay down the law, the government should follow. And I'm having people going around being mistreated by the government, and nobody is saying, oh, hold it a minute, this is wrong. They just sit down and shut up. Dr. Hines, who has been working for 23 years, come November, it will have been 23 years, is now out of a job. Why? Because he ran in St. Thomas against the Dems? Because he's a Dem? What are we doing in this country? They know better. It isn't like, I can understand people making mistakes, you know.
Right.
I can understand people doing things when they know that they are, they didn't know. But you know what the law is, and you ignore it. You don't care what the law says. You're going to do it in one way, because it can take forever to get through the system. I can give you an example of myself. I don't know about me, but I have a case in court against the government when Mayor MOTTLEY was Attorney General. But remember, she was Attorney General, they moved her and put their marshal, then the government changed, then the Dems came in, and those 6 years of thing, and I have not seen the judge yet. All right? I put the government in court. So they know that they can put your case, let you go to court, because they know if it comes to a logical conclusion that you can win anyhow. But they are making sure that by the time you win, or you may be an old man or old woman, they're frustrating you, and they're doing it, and that is why they have their hand pick people in certain areas that will do their bidding.
Yeah.
I am surprised that this country has remained so calm and so nice.
I am telling you. I am telling you, and only God. Listen, this is coming in so fast, and we really have to finish now. But let me read this. It said, "Good night. I messaged you a few days ago. They don't want you to mention their name. People are so afraid, Mrs. Corbin, in this country. The fear." She said, "I'm fed up of apparent corruption, like separate collection of plumbing fees on top of the exorbitant, I think she means, BWA installation fee." And she said there are some nurses at that are not being paid their full hazard pay since COVID. Doctors at the 24-hour section at the Winston Scott Polyclinic are currently working despite not having a written roster for the month as yet. Also, doctors in locum, I don't know what is.
Locum is a dishonesty practiced by the government. You have a vacancy, you have a need for doctors, and you hire a doctor and don't give him all of his rights. You don't give him vacation, you don't give him sick leave when he's got sick, and you just go in and work. And but what a locum is, it is not known to our law, but it is practiced in Australia, England, a couple other countries. A locum is a guy, they call them locums. Like if a doctor is sick, some person takes over his practice.
Yes, I know. No, I know. Catch on. I probably the way. Yes, I know what it is. I know
right?
what
but
it
that
is.
is what
Yeah.
they do. Now these doctors have been working 6, 7, 8 years as locums. No, you can't be a locum working for 6 years. You can't be a locum working for 2 months, unless the doctor was on some extended sick leave and you were holding on for him. But then what happens here is that I'm sick and tired of it. I'm bound to be sick and tired of it, but they are a nuisance. They sit down and allow doctors to be mistreated. You imagine you have young doctors, young people who went off and studied. They come back, and because you're not going to be able to go and set up a practice right away because nobody knows who you are. So you work in the government system, and then the government refuses to pay you what you are entitled to. They
Mm.
refuse to give you vacation, and all they talk about it. And these doctors are afraid too, you know. Some of them have left and gone overseas, and then we import doctors. We imported nurses. We talking about we're gonna get more Ghanaian nurses, but our nurses are leaving Barbados in droves. You know why? Because they're treating them like crap. They don't
Yes.
care. And the
Yeah.
thing is, sometimes I remember when I bought nurses from Nigeria and India and all over the place. And I'm not trying to be vulgar now, but when a old person come in and tell a nurse, I got up here my boxy. Let me know what boxy is. You know what I mean? And so
You have cultural differences.
you know what I'm telling you. So you need to have local nurses. You need to have Bajans, but no, they allow the Bajans to go because they can pay cheap. They
Yeah.
bought in
Listen,
Cubans and
listen,
pay the Cuban government.
we are just tired. We are tired, and yeah, we are tired. And I know we're going to close now. It's 10:15, so really need to close. But there's a gentleman here who's been having some challenges with getting his welfare, because he's been putting the message there, and he's saying that he tries calling them, and he's not getting through, and so on. Matthew Sainsbury, it sounds pretty serious. I don't know. If you call us and let me see if Mr. Franklin are giving you work, just and if you give me the information, I'll pass it on to them, because I could hear the cry of this man. 236-7000. 236-7000 is the number, Matthew Sainsbury. And if there's anything that we can do to help you, to be able to get that through to welfare, and get you some help, because you know of what it seems like you are going through. Guys, I want to thank you, Mrs. Corbin. How important your session has been is basically what we're talking about. Now that the partying is over, look at what we're going through. People are laid off, and all these things are happening to us. And I appreciate and thank you for the research you've done, and for your presentation. And Caswell, thank you so much. We appreciate you and the teaching. And I think the people they're good students. One person said, but Mr. Franklin talked about locum on the show before, you see, because after you started talking about it, then I remembered. So we are learning, sir. We are learning, and I appreciate it. Minister Stephen Lashley, former Minister of Culture, was brilliant, brilliant tonight, and I want to really commend him. And it was a great show. Thank you all very, very much for being here. We're going to be on again on Sunday. Oh, I want you to play Cross the Floor. I know, Judy, you love too much dancing. So we will only, it's too late, so we'll only play one. So Dave, we'll play Cross the Floor. Dave, you're there? So let's get it going. For Judy, after all of this, let's have something uplifting. They're all uplifting, actually. So let's play Judy one, Cross the Floor. So we're going to play Cross the Floor. All right, Dave. So good night, everybody. And we see you again on Sunday, God willing. To God be the glory. We see you again on Sunday. Let's Dave. No, I'm gonna have to do it myself. Let's see if I can do it. I don't know if he's hearing me. This is the Cross the Floor. Oh wow. Do I have that one? I don't know. Dave is the person who normally would play that one for you, Judy. I don't think I have that. I don't think I have that. So I'm just going to play what I know that I have. And what I know that I have is pretend. You're laughing. Oh, Lord. It's pretend.
Pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. That mass nor English, 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 English. Pretending to be good, I pretending to be good, just pretending to be good. I pretending to be good, I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending, and I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
I just like that laugh.
All right, bye bye everybody. Great show, great show, great show. Change is coming. Don't give up. Change is coming. Don't give up. Bye bye, folks.
Bye bye. Take care.